We are Brightside Home Theater. Hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast, the home theater podcast that's all about the experiences, the sights.
Silence on behalf of John, the scenes.
Silence, and he sounds, wow, what are the odds?
Yes.
The sights. The scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I didn't even think of that. That's pretty good. Yeah.
It's a moment's reflection to in recognition of John not being well.
Yeah, I know. That's too bad. Yeah. He's down and out. Down and out. I just played the Wilhelm scream. He's down and out. Yeah, John's a little under the weather. And I said to him when he texted us, I'm like, he must really be down because we've done podcasts and we both start out going, I don't want to be here. And then we're like, let's keep this short and get out of here, right? And like 3 hours later, it wakes you up. So he must really be sick, one of those, like you can't wander far from something. So, get well, John, if you're watching, if you're watching the stream or when you do listen. I hope you feel better, buddy. But that is one of the advantages now of having three. You just, you get a little bit more screen space there, Steve, because we get no John in between us. There's just you and I. You get a little bit bigger screen space. You just slide on over and we just keep on going, keep on trucking, right?
Yeah, the bus bench is just a little more compact and bijou, more intimate and exclusive.
Compact and bijou.
Yeah.
You can't use fancy words like that with me. Now I got to go Google what that means.
It's very exclusive. That's what it is. There you
I
go.
know. I can infer from context. Huh? What do you think of that?
There you go. Look at that. See, there we go.
That's about as big a fancy word as I use. Infer. Oh, well, it is happy holidays. We are still in December. Steve rocking the Santa hat. Now, Over there, is he Santa? Is he Kris Kringle? Is there any variation in your holiday traditions from us?
Santa, Father Christmas, that's it. Yeah, nothing more clever to it than that. No, so literally, Santa, Father Christmas, but Santa generally. But now that I've done that, I'm going to take this off because boy, oh boy, it's hot and it's playing havoc with my hair.
I was just going to say, you're not used to having anything on your head. So you put something up there and all that heat is like, got nowhere to go.
Yeah, so now it can disappear, thank goodness.
There you go.
No, it's all the same here. Everything's the same. And at least this week you can see my decorations, I'm not cut off the screen like last week, Yep. All that effort I've gone to. Took ages.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing what you do for the show.
Oh, well,
I changed my pictures. That's about it. I didn't have time to decorate this week. Big doings going on over the weekend. I was barely home, so. But
okay.
We're here.
Next week it can be the Star Wars Christmas special behind you.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
No one needs to do that. You do not need to subject anybody else to the horror that is the Star Wars Christmas special. And to be fair, it is universally derided. It's not just the fans that don't like it. Lucas doesn't like it. Mark Hamill doesn't like it. No one will come out in defense of that. Nobody.
But isn't that what makes it fun, though? Is that hasn't it gotten that kind of lore? It's so bad that you have to watch it now.
Oh, I'm glad I've seen it, but I saw it in the 90s on a bootleg video cassette.
Right.
Around a friend's house on a Friday night when we'd all been drinking, and and even then there just wasn't enough beer in the world to make it enjoyable, even half baked, as in drunk, not anything else. It just was still dreadful. But there we go. Still, It did give us Lumpy the Wookiee, so I suppose that's something.
That's what I mean. I'm like it's in the Star Wars lore. Like I love when people reference that. They're like, "Oh, well, it happened in the Christmas special." Oh, geez, here we go. Like, okay, it happened in the Christmas special, so it must be true.
Well, it did give. To be fair, it did give us Boba Fett for the first time. He was in the
viewing of him.
animated thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. First time we'd seen him. That was it. So, and it was on the back of that we then get him in Empire, as I understand it.
Right.
So it's not all bad, I suppose.
No. It's all marketing, Steve. I mean, marketing genius. That was, I mean, they sold more toys. They sold Boba Fett without even having a Boba Fett. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, the little cardboard box, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
So, all right. What do we got coming up this week? You have quite the list in front of you.
I have actually a little bit of an embarrassment of riches. I've got absolutely loads.
Were you off this week?
I have been. Yeah, I'm off.
Okay.
I am off this week, but also it was quite quiet on call for once this weekend, so I managed to watch a bit more than normal. So yeah, I've got The Evil Dead 2013, which is in 4K. I've got Christmas Vacation, which I finally caught up with. Excuse me, in 4K. No One Lives on Blu-ray. Fall on Blu-ray. Arkane episodes 1 to 8. On Netflix, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in 4K, and then lastly, Echo 3, episodes 1, 2, and 3. How about you?
I am up I'm going to take out the ones that I share with John. We'll do those next week because no sense in doing those twice. But I have Arkane episodes 1, just episodes 1 and 2. I have 5/25/77. I'll talk a little bit about that, but as the time this comes out, it'll be after I talked to the director/writer. And I was gonna, I guess I can't talk The Gray either. I had that one in there because John and I'll talk. We should save that one for next week. And then I also have Pulp Fiction, which I hadn't added in. I grabbed that one today. And Lethal Weapon. So.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice. All right, great.
All on the Kaleidescape. So, but the Pulp Fiction had just dropped today as we were recording this on Tuesday, but it just dropped this week on Kaleidescape. And then I believe it, so it came out the same day on Kaleidescape as everybody else in 4K. It was already on there. So, looking forward to telling you guys about that. That's a good one. And Lethal Weapon, Christmas movie. That's
100%.
My time.
100%.
So good. So
and it links into Christmas Vacation. Do you know how?
No, but save that. I can't wait to find out. I can't wait to find. I might know.
You're gonna like it.
But, huh?
You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it.
Always do.
It has a direct connection to Christmas Vacation.
Oh, I'm going to have to watch it again then. All right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, all right. Let's get to promos for this week. You can find us on Patreon. That's John's favorite. We'll lead with that because that's John's favorite, and John is absent today. Patreon supporters at patreon.com/brightsidehome theater. You can give us as little as $1 or as much as you'd like. And 50% of all donations from every month go to a charity. This month's charity, I'm still working on the meeting. We got something special lined up. I'm hoping to be able to announce it next week, but we'll get to that. No other donations came in this week. As far as Patron of the Week, this week's Patreon supporter of the week is Dan Carpenter, and he's been a patron for 4 months. So we're getting down there, people. We haven't had a new patron in a little while. So, but we're still doing well. We're at like $147, and we have $147 and 27 patrons. So doing well. So, but would like to see that grow so we could give more to people. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, and if you would like to get in touch with us, you can email any of us. Just use our first names, DJ, John, or Steve, and then just put at brightsidehometheater.com. And that you'll get any of us, and you can probably get mentioned. We'll probably mention it in the show. And you can, for all other links and all the other fun stuff, you can go to the website at brightsidehometheater.com. And all the past shows are there. Lots of fun stuff. There's actually some home theaters there. stuff like that. So, and Steve's Theater is there. You were one of the first people to join in on that.
I was the first.
Oh, you were the first. Wow.
Oh, yes.
Oh, look at that. I forgot. But, yep. And now we're doing HT tours, and you're over there as well.
Stalking. That's what it is. I'm stalking you, DJ. There's no escape.
No way. I'll take it all day long.
And now it's like Stockholm syndrome because now I'm on every week as well.
Yeah. Can't beat them, join them. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And if you would like, we never say this at the beginning, but if you'd like to be on the show, Takeover Tuesdays, Steve, you were on there too.
Twice.
You did Takeover Tuesdays where the listeners come on. All you got to do is email me, let me know that you'd like to come on. And we just chat. Just chat, home theater, whatever. It's Takeover Tuesdays. The listener takes over. Steve, you tell them about it. You're a veteran of that.
Yeah, it's great. No or minimal preparation is required from the listener's end. If you've just got an interest in home theater, you want to talk home theater, you want to come on and just chat away, you can and you should. There's no need to think, well, can I fill the time? Can I do it? Because if there's one thing we know, Deej, that you can talk for the US. And there's never any awkward pauses, are there? There's never any difficulty. It just flows and flows and flows. So anyone doing it should do it. If you're thinking that you might, go for it. Am I, by the way, here's a question for you, Deej. Am I the only person from outside of US or Canada that's done it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. And yet you've got listeners and viewers all over the world. I mean, Italy.
Oh yeah, we talk
Australia.
to people on Twitter all over the place, right? And yeah. I have India, Germany, Australia. You have all these people, and I'm like, honestly, I wouldn't even know like that. It would be so much fun to do. I would stay up until 3 a.m. to do it. Honestly, if somebody, because now we're really spreading time zones, right? And but that would be worth it. It would just be so much fun to get more countries in on it. More time zones, more countries. It's like, but yeah. Other than U.S. and Canada, you're the only foreigner.
So, ow. I prefer Can I just have a legal alien?
You're not illegal. You're over there. You're allowed to be an alien over there.
As far as you know.
It's only if you come here and stay. That's illegal.
Oh yeah, damn.
Right. That's not a problem.
Yeah. So it's but I suppose I tick 2 boxes because I am a New Zealander. So I suppose you've had a New Zealander and someone that lives in England on the Takeover Tuesdays.
And you've broadcasted from Spain. So, I mean, just you alone, we're starting to hit more continent. You ain't planning any trips to Antarctica?
I'll tell you what, it's going to be so cold here this week, it might as well be Antarctica.
Yeah.
So come on. So come on, Europe. Come on, India. Come on, Australasia. You're letting the sides down a bit. Come on, Takeover Tuesdays. Get onto it.
Yeah. I mean, John was in Italy. He didn't do it. He didn't broadcast from there. He could have. No. But yeah,
too busy having fun.
Yeah. Go on vacation, get away. So that's Takeover Tuesdays. Just email me, let me know. And also the Green Room, we stream all the shows live to the Green Room. Email me, anybody that's a Patreon supporter or has been on the show automatically gets in. But if you email me, we have a conversation. We'll let you in. And we'll have some fun. It's people in there are loving it. John Brock, late to the party. Where's John? Hit rewind, John.
I suppose the other thing to reassure people of with Takeover Tuesdays is it is still, isn't it? If they prefer to be audio only, then they can be, can't they?
Absolutely.
Because some people, I think, probably get a bit worried, thinking, the
Takeover
background's messy or whatever, So
right,
they can do it audio only if they want to, can't they?
Yep. Takeover Tuesdays have always been audio-only podcast. Just recently, I asked for permission if they want me to stream it to the Green Room. If they don't, I don't, or if they want it, they can just, minimize their screen so you can be on here. Some people, value their privacy. They don't want their image going out. And I understand that. And I've had a few people on here like that. So before streaming, you wouldn't have known who they were. Now it'd be like, oh, how come you didn't stream it? Oh, they didn't want to. So, and I don't blame people. Streaming is a different animal because there's no taking it back. It's like, it's out, it's live. People are seeing it, right? You can't go, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. It's like when you're podcasting, you can obviously edit it after the fact. So, so yeah, I understand that. But yeah, so.
Okay. Just to reassure people if they're wondering, that's all.
Yep. All right, we have some tweaks of the week.
Yeah, I want to hear yours. It sounds fun.
What was that?
I can't wait to hear yours. Hotel TV?
Yeah. So in my hotel TV, I travel with an Apple TV now. I used to travel with an Fire Stick. Because you go in, you can just plug the Fire Stick right in, and you can get on. I tried years ago to travel with an Apple TV, but you couldn't get that like sign-in page that a lot of hotels have on Apple TV. Well, Apple TV updated that, so I've started traveling with an Apple TV now. And so I'm on there, and I'm looking at the color settings. I'm like, this is awful. So I went right in. I was like, wait a minute. I'm on an Apple TV. I'm like, let me pull it up. Honestly, I think that's what this is made for. You're not going to do it at home because when you do it at home, that's the only input it does it for, right? And it only does it for the Apple TV. All it does is it changes your colors and it adjusts everything coming out of the Apple TV. It doesn't touch your television at all. So I just went into the hotel television, put it on standard, and then ran the setting. You put your phone up to the screen. It does its little, like poltergeist look. You put that on there and set the color. I was like, hey, that's not too bad. It's better than being vibrant or whatever when you walk in the room. Yeah. So I was like, this is pretty cool. I was like, and I would never use that at home, but because I can calibrate my TV at home, I can get it to where I want it. But I mean, I was like, this is perfect. So now when I travel, I'm like, I get a decent picture everywhere I go. So, hey, chalk one up for Apple. Who knew Apple knew what they were doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? And you know what? If I am at a hotel for more than a couple of days, I will do the same thing in terms of I will mess about with the picture settings without even a buy or leave. And when in Spain, I mean, bearing in mind we were there for 2 weeks. So the first thing I did, having got in there and turned on the TV and seen, it was dreadful. And straight away I thought, you know what? Nope, I can't have this. So I was messing about with the color, the contrast, the brightness, and looking through the various picture modes. There's no way I could leave it. So I'd like to think I left it better than I found it. But I didn't have any calibration kit. In fact, come to think of it, I should have taken my Apple TV. Actually, I've got 6 of them. I should have taken one really, but never mind. Yeah. I should have. I don't know why I didn't take it, but there it is. I should have done.
I love it. How does it work over there for you? Because I mean, here in the States, I'm going from state to state. And like, if I plug it in here, what I do is I'll plug it in here. And basically the one I'm using now is the one that used to be in my theater. Every time Apple comes out with their new Apple TV product, I'll grab that and I replace the theater alone because I always want that to have whatever it is. So I took that one, put it in my bag. And this was the first weekend I had a chance to travel. And because it's from my home, as soon as you plug it in, everything's already there. It's just like being at home to the fact that like I use Fubo TV for my streaming, right? My television. When I go on there, it takes away my local channels because I'm not in my local area. But everything else I get like normal, right? All my HBO Max, all my Disney Plus, everything's exactly where I want. I scroll across the screen just like I'm at home. It works perfect. Does it work like that going from country to country over there? How's that work?
I mean, I didn't take it, so I don't know, but I would imagine that it will be the same. So anything that has any local proprietary channels, that kind of stuff, you're unlikely to be able to run that. It would just come up and say no, I imagine. Whereas all the stuff like Apple TV, you know, your Netflix, all that kind of stuff, I imagine that will just run normally as if you were at home.
Yeah.
But I must admit I didn't try it, but I will do. Next time I go out to Spain, I'm going to take it with me and just give it a whirl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the end of the world anyway, because I've got an HDMI cable, and I've got the little adapter that Apple produced a little while back. So I can literally plug it into the iPad.
Yeah.
Plug the HDMI lead into that and the HDMI lead into the TV, and everything on the iPad comes up on the screen anyway.
Right.
So there's a workaround there. It's not pretty, but it is a workaround.
I'm laughing because so we went down Thursday for my daughter's wedding. The wedding was on Friday, and we had the rehearsal dinner on Thursday. And my neighbors all went down on Thursday too as well. So there's like 5 couples. They were in the hotel. We got back and we went over there, but the Patriots were playing Thursday night football against the Bills, and it's on Amazon Prime. And because we were in a different state, they didn't get it on their regular television, so they need to watch it on Amazon Prime, even in the hotel. The hotel didn't have it on at all. So I go over there. Now I'm sitting there waiting to head over there. This is at probably 9:30, 10 o'clock when we got back. I'm watching it on my big screen TV in the hotel room because I've got my Apple TV set up. I'm ready to go. But they're in a different hotel. So we all went, my wife and I went to them. I walk in there. They've got 2 laptops on the front desk, like these tiny, and they're trying to sync them together. So at least and they're trying to get the audio synced. I go, well, first off, why don't you just turn one audio off? Then you don't have to sync it. Like, oh, yeah. So they turn that down. They've been drinking. I go, why don't you just plug an HDMI cable into the television? And they go, we don't travel with HDMI cables. I go, but you travel with a laptop? I'm like, HDMI cables are like a nickel. Just throw one in the bag. You never know when you're going to need it. I'm like, and then I go back to my hotel. I'm packing we're leaving on Saturday, and I'm like going through my bag and packing up. And I'm like, hey, look, I had 2 more HDMI cables in my bag. And I'm like, hey, see, always got to be prepared. But yeah,
I literally in my bag behind me here, my police station, traveling bag, teaching bag, I've got an HDMI cable, I've got 3 USB-C leads, I've got you name it, I've got them all in there. It's like carrying I've got about 15 different cables in there, but I wouldn't leave home without them.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, you never know what you got to connect to, and it's so. Oh, all right. So yeah, that was the tweak for this week. That was a fun one too. I was actually pretty excited about that. It worked pretty well. So, all right, you ready to get to this week's listener experiences? And this will be fun. We'll get to go through this. Why don't you start off? Actually, let me get the paper. There we go.
Okay. So, all right. I've got Dan Carpenter's one first. Is that what you've got?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start that. So this is a tweet from Dan Carpenter, who sent some lovely pictures as well with this. Yeah. He said, I sure am glad I got my Bright Side home theater sweatshirt. I would have been cold putting up these lights. And then sent photos of the various lights that he's put up around his house in true Clark Griswold style.
Yeah. It looks great. And we haven't had a chance to drive by yet. But I know he's, like I say, he's like 20, 25 minutes away. But yeah, he did a great job. Looks good. Looks really nice.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they are good. Yeah, good.
So, yeah, and did you see the tweet that he put out earlier when he actually was out wearing his sweatshirt? He's like, you could see he was standing on his deck. But yeah, it's well lit. Really good looking house. All right, next one is an email from Jonathan, and it says, subject is a minor tweak. It says, hey, DJ, I made a minor tweak to the C-Den cinema that ended up great. I complained to you previously that I could not watch my Sony VPL VW325 ES projector with any light on in the room because the picture looked washed out and it was annoying to watch sports in a dark room. Yeah, in a dark room. Well, in my theater, I have 6 in-ceiling recessed lights. Yesterday, I disconnected the front 2 closest to the screen, the effect being that the light is not shining directly on the screen anymore. Now, it's very enjoyable to watch with the lights on, but the picture is not totally washed out. Very simple solution, but great results. Jonathan. So yeah, I would add to that, Jonathan. If you can put, I don't know what kind of recessed lighting you have, but if you could maybe put some hue lights in there.
I was about to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you run hue lights in there, and then you can set, like I do the same thing in my room. I have 4 like sconces, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and then I have the what do you call them? The light track in the hue track
Light
lighting.
strip.
Yeah, the light strips. Thank you. In the back, and for sports, I dim the front ones really low, and then the back ones will be a little bit brighter. But you could set all different settings and stuff like that. So. And there's other things that you can do it as well, other brands. But I recently started using what is it? Whiz lighting. That's what I'm using in here for this, and I can control all that. But the difference is it's the same thing. It's by Philips, but hue lighting. And I'm like, what's the difference? Because hue lights are like $50 for the full color bulb. And these whiz bulbs are like, and these, I got like floodlight here and I could change the colors and everything, but they're like $18. I was like, wow, that's so cheap. But they run off those run off the individual Wi-Fi individually. Okay. So you can't run your house on them because each one takes a bandwidth of your Wi-Fi. Whereas the hue lighting, they use the bridge. So the bridge is one voice to your Wi-Fi, and it controls everything. So it simplifies it for your Wi-Fi, so you can still do other things in your house. So that's I would look into that, because that took me a while to figure out what the difference was on going through all the reviews, and it was on YouTube. Somebody's in their first comment. That's what they said, is keep in mind that each one of these whiz lights is talking to your Wi-Fi. So. But yeah, if you could find I don't know, like I said, I don't know what you're using, Jonathan, for lights, but Hue has pretty much everything. And if you pop in, you change all those to Hue lights, and probably be, I would say, in the neighborhood of, around a couple $100 to do. But then once you get the app going and you figure it out, you can program it, you can different settings, and yeah, Steve knows.
Yeah, well, I've got exactly what John's got. I mean, I've got 6. I've got 6 recessed lights at the ceiling, and then I've got 3 strips, one either side of the screen recessed, and then I've got a strip light behind the TV, as you know, but others may not. And so yeah, they are great. I love the Philips Hue lighting, because not only can you set the different moods and the tones, and I've got 3 that I normally use. I've got house lights, I've got dimmed for, if you need to get up in the middle of the movie and you don't want to put all the lights on, you can just have it dimmed. And then I've got a show off thing where it's all in individual bits. But as you know as well, what you can do is for special occasions, or when you're in a particularly creative mood, you can create light schemes and light patterns, and you can do all kinds of fun stuff with it. And I've done ones for Kenobi. I did ones for Army of the Dead. Yeah, I did ones for the football as well, which is quite good fun. So you can actually have individual flags. You can recreate the colors for the room, and it's a silly little thing, but it's fun to do. But for John, trying to remove a bit of light at the front, they're perfect, because you can have any sequence you want, and it's not rocket science. It doesn't take a lot of, you've got no programming know-how. It can be done on your phone, and you can just play around with it and just have fun. So yeah, that's what he would be, as you said, well advised to get, because they are cool. Yeah, they are. I have them programmed to my Harmony too. Like if I put on PlayStation 4, the whole room goes blue. Yeah. So we do that. When I put on Kaleidescape now, I have blue and yellow that's their colors. So I'm like, I do that. And I have, like I said, in Jonathan's case, I have a sports mode where it dims the front, and it's a different setting. So, and right now my off button is Christmas lights. It's red and green. So I hit the off button, and everything, it's never off completely, but they're down at the lowest setting. So the room's just red and green. It's just nice. So you can, and like you said, Steve, you could just have so much fun with it. And depending on what remote you have, it's compatible with other things. And it really is a fun thing to do. And people like, whoa, it's a fun experience too for people. That's great. Well, in the old days, you'll know this, but in the old days, we used to have you'd have like these remote controls that would dim the lights. That's what and they bring them up. And that was it. I had a Sony one that used to do that. And then I had a Harmony, oh my God, 1100, something like that. I can't remember, something like the one that was like a little tablet back before you had tablets, and it was this little thing, and it was quite fun, but it would only ever dim them and bring them up. You couldn't change the colors, you couldn't put in any real programming. But and also they were a bit hit and miss. I used to find that sometimes it worked, sometimes it wouldn't, and you'd feel a complete idiot if you I nearly had a different word, but a complete idiot when you'd have someone rounded, and Murphy's law, Sod's law would be, the one time someone was there and you were going to show off how you could dim your lights from your remote control, and it wouldn't work, and you'd feel stupid, and then the whole thing is undone. But these things are so reliable; they're great, and it'll work. And like you say, you can have all kinds of fun showing them off. And people really do think, oh wow, how have you done that? So
did you know
they are cool?
Did you know they have? I have all my Christmas lights are on Hue now, whether it's on an outlet or what, but everything is just all pro. You forget that you even do it once you plug it in. We have little candles in the windows, right? And they're all on the Hue little outlet plug that you put on. So
okay, nice.
And I program each one to come on at 3:00 in the afternoon. Wouldn't like last year was the first year I did it. I used to do those timers that you have to like set, and you're like, and each one has to, the little piece of plastic, and you're like, you set that one, and you got to run to the other window, make sure it's at 3:00 and it's doing it right. Oh my God, what a pain in the ass. But sorry. But now with the Hue lights, I'm like, you just plug them in, and like I said, I did it all last year. I was like, oh, that was easy. You want to know how easy it is? This year, I just took them, plugged them in, didn't touch a thing. That's it. Just plug them in, plug the lights into it, and it remembered. I went on my phone to the app, which I hadn't seen in a year, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's still running." Okay.
Yeah. There you go. They are so reliable. You forget they're there. It's only when there is a problem, which is rare. And I encountered one last weekend. Actually, my router was being upgraded. I didn't know at the time the router was being updated, and suddenly it wasn't working. And of course, the Harmony wasn't working. Right. The Hue wasn't working, and I was like, "Oh, not happy." But they're so just plug it in and forget that when you don't then have it, it drives you absolutely up the wall. Luckily, it was only overnight, because otherwise, that would not have been good. You'd have heard the screaming from where you are. So it's all good. They are very cool, and I'm sure everybody in the home theater community that's got them recommends them. And I mean, Ara was talking, wasn't he, when we talked about home theater tours? He was talking about how he's got them and he really likes them. I know you do. I do. It's hard to criticize them. It's a product that is almost too good. It's quite hard to sort of improve on it.
They're not cheap though. That's the biggest downfall. They are like, to get the bulbs, they are like
$50. It's £50 here as well. $50.
Yeah, $50 for the full color, and it's just your bulb, just your regular bulb. But they have the little candle bulbs. That's what I use in my theater, and they're full color. But so when you go to but they last forever. I haven't had one go yet, so that's a plus.
Touch wood.
I'm thinking they have outlets that you can install as an outlet, and each plug, like you'll have a dual outlet in your wall. Each outlet has its own setting. So if you have a lamp on one, you can put a timer on that, and you can just leave the other one alone if you want, and if that's the TV and stuff. So it's not like your TV is just going to go boom.
So I mean, the combinations are endless. I mean, you could have your whole house like it. You could literally go from one to another, and it all works with the voice assistant on any Apple device. I'm not going to say it because the whole blooming place will go up. And all that can work, and you can literally walk from one room to another and just say, that person, turn on the lights. It's like Demolition Man.
Yes.
And you could just say it, and on come the lights, and it's, happy days. Although I'm pretty sure Siri still doesn't know what the 3 seashells are. However, everything else can be done. And so it's just so ridiculously simple. It's great.
Yeah, I'm looking to do that in my new house. I'm like, instead of installing regular outlets, I'm looking to do all of that. Why not just upgrade to that? Yeah. Because why spend the money? It's a little bit more expensive, but it's far cheaper just to do it outright than to do the old way and then try to upconvert later, right? So it's like, just do it right now, and it's like...
Well, you don't have to put in the bulbs either, can you? Because I've got my garage. There's lights out the front of the garage, and when we had the electrician come and do them, I just said, I'm going to want hue lights in there eventually. And he's like, okay, well, I'll put in, first of all, he's like, what the hell is a hue light? And when I explained it to him and he did some research on it, he's like, oh, okay. And he was able to put in just normal light fittings, but they will have hue bulbs in, at any point I want to put them in, I can.
Yeah.
So exactly the same with you. You don't even have to put in the hue bulbs yet if you don't want to, but you could at least have them all pre-wired, ready to go.
Yeah. If you put the outlets in, you can use regular bulbs on that. And then they would just shut off and on whenever you wanted. So I think you might even be able to dim them, maybe. I don't know. But I'm looking into doing all of that when, so. So
it's going to be a smart home, is it?
I'm trying. I mean,
sorry. It's going to be a smart home, is it?
Smart home. Yeah, I'm trying. I mean, you might as well, Ethernet in every room and, Wi-Fi, that whole thing, might as well. It's like, because who knows where we're going. So got to get ahead of it. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. What do we got? Oh, we're on.
I've got a note here, so I'm not sure who it's come from. I don't know if you've got about Police Squad.
Did I read?
Files of Police Squad.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay, so this has come from a very good listener and viewer who is so good we don't want to embarrass them in public. So it's not that we don't have their name here. So it reads as follows. It's headed "Files of Police Squad," a series after my own heart. So it says a Blu-ray of series. Same comedy as movie in special features. Leslie Nielsen is giving reasons it failed on TV but succeeded as a movie. 1, you had to pay attention to the show, and at home people watch TV passively, unlike a movie. And 2, so many of the sets had visual humor in the backgrounds and such, so on a small screen, and TVs were much smaller than audience couldn't get humor, they couldn't easily see. He goes on saying how some things that don't work on the big screen work on the small screen and vice versa. Never thought of the big screen in that regard.
All right.
Yeah.
That sounds like I don't know how that got in there. I honestly don't. It's a screen grab from something, but I don't know how it got in there.
I think I've seen it on Twitter. I think it's from Twitter. I'm pretty sure I read it. I think that's where it might have come from.
Right. And maybe it's might be WV. That might be WV. That's funny. Okay.
Yeah. But he's right. But Police Squad didn't do very well, and yet it's a brilliant series. And I've only recently rewatched all 3 Naked Gun films on Blu-ray. Yeah. Having just bought the trilogy set. And the films were bigger than the series, but the series is just as good. And I've got the Blu-ray of that as well. So they are fantastic. And it's almost as if he's suggesting that the delivery system makes a difference, maybe. If you put it on TV, people miss it. And if you watch it in the cinema, maybe it's better. Who am I to say?
Can it enhance it?
Surely not. I love, by the way, how we keep swapping our stances on this.
I haven't swapped at all. That's my point. It's like it's not as good as something that can be watched anywhere. That's the point, right? But when it gets the enhancement, you're like, oh, that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people. Have people forgotten that Naked Gun was supposed to be Police Squad? Have people forgotten?
What it says at the beginning, it says from the files of Police Squad. From the files of
Police Squad, yeah. But I didn't know it. Like, I didn't know if people had been forgetting that, having not seen it or something. But
yeah, I think that was
common knowledge.
Well, I think most people that certainly have heard of the Naked Gun, but I think there are fewer people that know that there was actually a series of them. And there's only short. It's only like 6. There's not many, are there? They're very short. There might be more. No, I think it is 6.
It's all the same kind, like Airplane. It's all the same kind of humor, right? It's all the obvious, sarcastic, physical humor too. A lot of that stuff. So,
it's great.
A lot of fun.
It's very, very good. And actually, I was surprised. I always remembered 1 being the best, and 2 and 3. The way I remembered them was that they were not that good. And yet, recently, having rewatched all 3, 2 and 3 are still very, very funny.
Oh yeah.
So. Even if they have got O.J. Simpson in, so it's a little bit awkward. Yeah. But other than that, it's fine.
Yeah. Nice beaver. Thanks. I just had it stuffed.
Still the next, that's one. And then the other one, is this some kind of bust? Yes, that's very impressive. But that's not what we're here to talk about. It's just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, it's so great. It's so great.
Anyway.
Because
quote goes back and forth all night.
But I know. But what's so great about them is, and I think I really appreciate like humor like that can be said in any kind of mixed company, and be like, I don't get, like a little kid be like, I don't get it. Like, and it's like, but that's fun. Those are fun jokes that you don't have to be like swearing your brains out, or it doesn't.
No.
I mean, it's just, that's what makes it
It's
funny.
just wordplay.
Yeah, it's just wordplay. It's
exactly.
just so much fun.
While we're talking that then, see, I think Aeroplane is the second funniest film ever made. The first one for me being Life of Brian, which I just think is the Monty Python, which I just absolutely love that. What would be your funniest film of all time? Just whilst we're on this.
I would probably say Dumb
comedy
and Dumber.
subjective, so it's tricky. Oh,
yeah.
Look, just because it's the Farrelly brothers, so you feel a certain local connection.
No, not. I can't. I just love that. That's when somebody. To be fair, those ones don't come to mind first. The ones like you said, like I just, whenever anybody asks me, I'm like, I have to go to Dumb and Dumber, because that was right in my heyday of that being that age. And when that came out, and it was just like, it's just right in my wheelhouse. And you're like, I mean, I can quote that movie all day long as well. Be like, can't find there's no jobs out there unless you want to work 40 hours a week. It's like,
It is good.
It's fantastic.
The one I always think of with that is the, where are you from? Austria. Throw another shrimp on the barbie, mate.
I know.
That is fantastic. That's the one I always think of when I think of Dumb and Dumber. That's the first line that springs to mind.
Oh, it's great. It's so good.
The Farrelly brothers, they did have a string of very, very good movies.
Yeah.
They were class.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, but there's so many. And they're not really, they're movies, but I love both Eddie Murphy, Delirious, and Raw. And those are stand-up movies, but I remember I didn't see Delirious in the theater, but I did see Raw in the theater.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was blown away, right? Because when did that come out? In the late 80s?
88.
Probably 88.
87,
so I was
88, something
17,
like that,
18. I hadn't seen Delirious yet, and I was just like, you can go to the movies and see this stand-up, and I was just like, this is amazing. And that was the first stand-up I'd seen in a theater. And I mean, watching them today, you're like, it's like he can't do those jokes today, but that's what makes it fun watching those now. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're in context. They were great, and I think I told you of the 3,000 movies that my parents had in the video shop in the 80s. That was the only one my dad said I couldn't watch.
Raw,
despite all the horror films. Raw. It was the language. He said, nope, you're not watching that. And again, as I think I said to you, as soon as they went out, of course I watched it.
Oh yeah.
That was the only one my dad had a problem with. He was fine with everything. All the Friday the 13th. I can't say Texas Chainsaw Massacre because that was banned at the time. But Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. No problem. Lethal Weapon again. All those. Commando, Predator. All that. You enjoy them, Steve. You enjoy them. But Raw. No. Just would not have that. So as I said, I watched it anyway when they were out. But I
used to quote that everywhere I went. I was like, oh my God. I would, and I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. The joke at the beginning, I can make the stars come out, and he kicks the light. I think that's great. Anyway, we've got to stop quoting stuff.
Samuel Jackson's in that.
Is he the dad in that? Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Samuel Jackson at the beginning. Cool. Yeah.
Wow, that must have been one of his first roles next to Spike
early on. Yeah.
He was very, very
crazy.
New. But I mean, as I said, for me, Life of Brian, the Monty Python film, is just ridiculously funny, and I can't. I mean, those are the sort of things that you can quote forever. The religious satire that goes with that is just very funny. That, and again, I won't use the words, but the thing about the can't you all just F off?
Yeah,
and the response from them was, "How should we F off, oh Lord?" Is just it's just ridiculous. It's just so funny, and then Airplane is my close second for me. I think that's great, and again, endlessly quotable.
Oh yeah, I think my parents took me to see Airplane, and
see, it's quite risque.
Yes, I don't think they were expecting that. They weren't expecting that.
Drug use.
Yeah, it was like my 12th birthday or something. What year did that come out? It was like,
it was
80,
80, 81?
82. I was thinking 82 because I was 12 and 82.
I think that's the sequel in 82. I think that might have been the sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? I'm not sure.
Maybe it was 81 they took me then. Because it was PG. That's the thing.
There's no way it would be today.
No.
There's no way.
No. But again, a lot of it had that humor that it could go over a kid's head.
Oh, look at that. Can I just say 1980, Airplane, 1982, Airplane 2. Check me out.
Okay. Oh, man.
Yeah. But the sequel, interesting, very quickly, because again, the Zucker brothers have never seen Airplane 2. They refused to see it. They weren't involved in it. Paramount wanted a sequel and they said no. This is on the commentary to Airplane. And they said, no, we're not doing it. So Paramount said, all right, then we'll just have someone else do it, which they did. And I actually think there is, Airplane 2 is very, very funny as well. All the William Shatner stuff with the opening doors and all that, that's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And the danger vacuum, and he opens the door and it's so stupid. I love it. And so, but they did. So the Zuckers refused to watch it. And as of the DVD commentary, they said, we're never going to see it. Never. We refuse to watch it. Yeah. And yet I think it's good.
I love when he's supposed to be on the screen.
The screen, yes.
But it's the door opens. He's just standing in a window.
It's brilliant. And then controlling the thing playing the computer game on the on the air traffic control.
God.
Anyway.
Striker.
Brilliant.
So many.
We'll get that ship down and down safe. Just the thing drops. Actually, that's what you talked about last week about your, fecal matter in the oscillating device. That's the one where it says when Strucker hears about this. That's the one. It says when Strucker hears about this, that you know what's going to hit the fan, and then you've got that cut scene of the fan and the stuff going into. Anyway, we'll stop quoting stuff at each other now.
Good stuff. All right, you got the next one? Oh, I got this one, right? You read the last one.
Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. Not Ken Griffey Jr., I'm assuming. No,
I hope. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. That'd be nice. If it is the Ken Griffey Jr., go to patreon.com/Right Home Theater.
Are you impressed that I know who Ken Griffey Jr. is?
I think he's a pretty famous athlete. I would think, I would imagine you might.
Him and Babe Ruth, probably the only two baseball players I would be able to name.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why him?
Yeah. Well, just
then why Ken Griffey? I know why Babe Ruth, but why Ken Griffey?
Yeah, I think, didn't he do some video games or something? Wasn't he like the John Madden video games? Yeah. It was Ken Griffey Jr.'s baseball, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
That's about the only way.
That's it. Yeah, I just took it for granted. I'm like, he was huge. Obviously, he had his own video game. So,
yeah.
But, all right. Ken Griffey Jr. on Twitter says, at BrightSideHT, immediately thought of you when I saw this. Have you seen anything like this before? And he had a YouTube video of the Trinov software that Shane Lee uses. He's been doing it for like a year or so, I think. And I love this software. And I replied back to him. I'm like, I love this stuff. I want a Trinov someday. I want to get to that level in my room. But it's not because of this software. And I said, I love it, but there is a downside too. And they're like, what's the downside? Well, you got to tune in. Well, here's the downside. For me, my podcast, my life, everything has been about the experiences. This stuff here, when you get so analytical with this, it takes away from the experiences because I've watched some of Shane's videos and I'm just like, you know what? And even Todd on AV Nirvana, he does some of the bass ones. And it's like, you can be so into a movie and really just enjoy the hell out of a movie and be like, oh my God, that just hit me. The bass was pounding. This was hitting that. But then somebody comes at you with, well, the frequency response just didn't get down to a certain point, and then it didn't do this, and it's like, you listen to me, I'm like, oh, the pans are going from left to right, and you can hear it go right over your head. There's so much emotion that plays into this stuff. That's what these movies are about. And they're pieces of art, and it's meant to be emotional and get you to think certain things and get you to feel certain ways. And your imagination starts to take over that, yes, that plane did really fly over me. So where your brain is filling in the gaps from front channel to rear channel, right? Well, then you go and look at something like this, and what does it do? Oh, well, they're not even using the overhead channels in this, so there's not. Now your brain is telling you, I don't even hear it up there because it's not there. You're out of the movie. You're not enjoying the movie for what it is. And that's why these are fun, and they're fun to play with, but at the same time, it takes away from the overall experience of the movie itself, and it gives a tool to people to go, you're wrong. You didn't really enjoy that. Wait, what? So, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing invalid about it. It's like cars, isn't it? You've got some people, want to know about tire pressure. Some people want to know about horsepower. Some people want to know about the intricacies of the weight to power ratios. People want to know about torque strength and all this stuff. And some people just want to go fast.
Right.
And enjoy that experience. And so I think this is the same. It's exactly the same thing. Some just want to enjoy what's on the screen, engage with it, and just feel it, Right. And I'm one of those people, and I know you are as well. And so I don't really get beyond that. I don't care about bit rates. I don't particularly care about again, frequency responses, exactly that personally. And I don't personally think I've got the kit to really take any advantage of that anyway, but I'm not interested in that enough to do it. I want, as you said, the experience. I want to be entertained or engaged or moved. I don't care about oh, look, that one rose to this bit and that bit. If I hear a surround thing and it enhances, it's that word again, the experience for me, then I couldn't care less whether it's gone down to 25 hertz or it's gone down lower. Who cares? Personally, just enjoy it, and I think if I find myself going down that route, if that ever happens, I don't think it will, because I'm not that technical minded anyway. And I think that if I ever did find myself doing that, then I've lost something, and it would be a shame to have lost that thing. But having said that, I mean, Todd in particular, when we're going to talk about Todd a little bit later with one of the movies that I watched this week that he did too. Yeah. He's a guy that enjoys both sides of it, doesn't he? He loves the experience as well, and then likes to get into the nitty gritty at times too. So, you can be both.
You can do both. And I definitely would. I don't know if I would be like publishing it. Right. Because that's for me, it's like I would do this just for fun to see what was where and be like, okay, this is that. But I don't know if I would I would be going out and saying this, that, and the other thing, but like, see how this, I mean, it is a neat piece of software and it's fun to see what your gear is doing. I love doing that. But I like you said, I want to just watch the content and enjoy that for what it is. And I was talking earlier today on Twitter about Christopher Nolan and 5.1 versus DTS-X and Atmos and stuff. And Travis and I mentioned it earlier in the week, and it was like, people get hung up on those labels when it's like, if you didn't know the difference, you're listening to a Christopher Nolan movie, or even like I'm going to talk later about Pulp Fiction, you listen to a Quentin Tarantino movie, be like, you wouldn't know. You don't know. Unless you see that label, you don't know. And that's stuff like this that actually makes me, it's only 5.1. So you automatically go into it as a negative. You're like, this is, this could be deeper. No, maybe they don't want it to be deeper. Maybe they don't want this. And it's like, I learned it a long time ago. I used to read, I couldn't wait for a movie to come out and people would get their early reviews. And this was even years before I had a podcast, and I'd read the reviews of the movie. And then I was like, what I found it was doing to me is it was ruining the movie that I couldn't wait to see, because now they were like, it sounded a little flat or this and that. And it's like, but I know I'm going to buy the movie. I know. And now I'm watching it and I'm like, wait a minute. So what I did is I consciously said, I'm not going to read anything. I'm going to start and try to take it in myself, then go back and compare. And more often than not, I would agree with them, but there were opportunities where there were times when I would read a review and be like, what are they talking about? That's flat? what do you mean? How? I'm like, I thought that was fantastic. I was so blown away by that. And I'm like, so I try not to do that. I try not to get hung up in the nitty gritty and just enjoy the experience, So.
Yeah. Best way to be, I think. But it's all valid. But it's everyone's got their own personal choice, haven't they, and their personal tastes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is, there is a segment out there that loves to do just this, and that's fine too. And it's like, you just love to, oh, okay. And then they're going to break that down, and that's the podcast for you, right? Where it's like, I only want the movies that have sounds coming out directly over me. Okay. But it's, they're to each his own, like you said.
Yeah.
So it's like, whatever. But yeah, it's like I said, if I get one someday, I'll definitely be using it. There's no doubt about it. But there is a downside. And it was Karan on Twitter, Kiran, that asked, what's the downside? So I said, tune in. All right. You read the next one, which is a YouTube.
So this is a short one.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a short one. This is a YouTube from, the snappily entitled WH250398 on YouTube. That just trips off the tongue, doesn't it? I hope that's not some sort of lost style code that now brings about the end of the world. Anyway,
it'd be odd if it was a bot, like a bot chiming in with a decent comment.
Yeah, that's it. And this is on the Is Hans Zimmer Live in Prague, a must-own Blu-ray, which I still haven't watched, but I've got. You do
have to take in every horror movie under the sun before you get to this.
Sometimes twice. But yes, I'm still waiting for my tuxedo to come back from the cleaners. So until I get that, I can't possibly go to a concert. So yes, and the comment is the audio is on another level.
It is.
So it's just someone else saying, watch it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh wow,
I will.
I can't recommend it enough. So, yeah, it is on another level. Thank you, WH250398. Star Wars robot.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's a stormtrooper, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. This one, very proud to read this one. David, we get another one coming up. Did you scroll through and see the other one we're getting?
The second one, yeah.
Oh, there's another person that has another one too. But yes, this one, David Guzman says it's his Spotify, and you spent 4,778 minutes with your top podcast, Brightside Home Theater. How cool is that? It just means we talk a really long time.
I was going to say that's just your average Sunday afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
4,778 minutes. Just getting past the pleasantries.
That was me and Travis on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome. I love it. And it's not why I do this, but it's so cool. We're putting out 2 podcasts a week. They're long, but I think what's great, it's people are listening to the entire thing. It's like, not everybody. It's a certain segment of the passionate people, but that's why I put the show minutes in there. But yeah, there are people listening to the entire thing. So that's so cool. Thank you. Thank you, David. Really appreciate that. All right. You got the next one?
So, okay. Now, just because I'm, to use your words, a foreigner, doesn't mean that I should be getting the really hard to pronounce names. But this next one is a YouTube comment on the home theater review Kick-Ass in 4K. And the comment is from someone called Precious Otoakia. I think I might be saying that right. Otoakia. Yeah, it sounds vaguely Maori. It sounds New Zealand. Anyway, so they say, Precious Otoakia says, why was Big Daddy not mentioned more? I thought NYPD went after him because of his assault on the warehouse that Marcus mentioned and called him about. You're going to have to take that one. I
was going to ask you. I forget. I put in the comment because I was like, hey, to be fair, it's a question. I haven't seen this in a while when I did the video, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you why it wasn't in the story. I would guess it didn't Didn't change the movie. Doesn't enhance the movie to me at all to find out this information. Somebody else had a question like that later on. Oh, it's probably them again. It's probably Precious
You
again.
still haven't answered my question.
Huh? Yeah.
He's probably, look, I'm going to ask it again. If we're talking Kick-Ass, just because this is something I watched today. So today
really?
I finally got round to watching most of this What Happened to Superman Lives documentary. It's been out for ages, and I meant to buy it, and I never got round to it. And I think it was WV Bureau actually, or somebody today tweeted out a YouTube link to it, and it seems to be up there legitimately. It's not a pirated stream or anything, because it runs right through. And I would say, having watched that, I don't know if you've seen it, but having watched that, I would like to say that Nicolas Cage makes a much better Adam West Batman in Kick-Ass than he would have done as Superman, because the stuff in that. I don't know what they were doing there.
Well, to be fair, I've seen clips of that in the past. I haven't seen that specific video, but I've seen clips in the past, and you look at it and go, what the heck were they thinking? But at the same time, they never got to production. That was all.
No, they got a long way down it, though. Long way into it.
Right. But I also remember when Titans came out, and this was back when it was on DC Universe, and we hadn't seen anything. John and I were doing chat, and we were watching some behind the scenes footage. And when you see some of these raw shots, action shots, right? And they're fighting, and you're like, what are they doing? They just literally run and throw themselves in the air. And you're like, the costumes look awful. Everything looks awful. And then once it gets produced and you do the color correction and you do the editing, the focusing, all the light, and you adjust everything in post, that you're like, oh my God, that looks amazing. And I saw some stuff that I was like, you would have thought it would be better, but it just looked horrible. And then when I saw it really produced, you're like, that's amazing. So I think the same thing about Nicolas Cage. I'm like, if they had ever put that out, I don't think what we're seeing is anything close to what would have been the final production.
Yeah, well, it'll be worth watching the documentary if you get a chance. It's only hour and 40 minutes. It's not a long one, but it is the stuff they were doing. They had gone off the deep end, and they were just swimming ever deeper. And as I said, the more you learn about it, the more you're just thinking, my goodness, I'm so glad they pulled the plug when they did. Although there's some interesting little echoes in there that then come up in Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. You know, the little kryptonite robot things that float about the kryptonite ship. Those were in this original script. You know, those kinds of things. The idea of Jor-El coming back is in that script. You know, this thing that he is within within the ship, and you know, that kind of stuff. But then they get to Nicolas Cage as Superman, and just, you know, I'd be interested to see what you guys make of it. Actually, I don't know if John's seen it, but as comic book guys, it'd be interesting to see what you make, because I've never read Superman the comics. I've only ever seen the films, and I like the character. It's not a an issue I've got with it, if you'll forgive the expression, when you're talking about comics. But it's just something that I haven't, I'd never really read them. I read Marvel when I was a kid. I read, all the Spider-Man and all that stuff, but I never really read any DC stuff. And so I'm not familiar with the story from the comics, like the death of Superman, all that stuff.
Right.
But it'd be curious to see what you guys make of that documentary, because they were trying to tell that story, but in a really weird, very odd way. Yeah. And I mean, obviously Tim Burton does things his own way anyway, doesn't he? But he was being pushed down a particular path by a producer who is even more out there than Tim Burton is. And so it's worth watching if you can. It's free on YouTube, so it's there. But anyway, so I would prefer Nick Cage's Adam West Batman in Kick-Ass than as Superman.
All right. Next, we have a YouTube comment from Home Theater Experience of Guardians in the Galaxy Holiday Special. Our buddy Mike Schramm says, "Missed you guys and love the new intro." Thanks, Mike. And if you noticed on this week's show, I've added in Travis is in there now. So Travis has been added to the intro. We are Brightside Home Theater. So you come on the show, and and if you've been on the show, let me know. You will come on, and we could just take a 10 minutes, and I'll come on and get your grab, and we'll add that into the show. So anybody that's coming on the show, I'm going to try to get everybody in there, and that'll be a lot of fun. That'll be a lot of fun. So, all right, next up.
So this is another YouTube comment from Theo M. Again, commenting on the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special home theater experience from last time, saying, "Hi, good to see you guys. Great show as always." So very nice of Theo to give us the positive feedback. Good man.
Yep. Thanks, Theo. And we need you on the show. And we get another. This is the comment I was talking about from Precious again. About Kick-Ass. Quick question.
You going to take a run at the surname?
No, you did a good job with it. I don't want to ruin it. Quick question: was Damico the protector of bad guys in Kick-Ass world, like the ones that beat up the stranger that Kick-Ass saved? I don't know. I don't remember.
I can't help with that one at all.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Precious. I don't remember that. The movie is that much from. I mean, I know I love the movie and I've seen it many times. I just don't remember the little details like that. So, all right, you want to grab the next one? Another YouTube.
Yeah. So the next one's another YouTube comment again from the Guardians of the Galaxy episode last week. This is from Deepak B. It says slideshow.
Yeah.
Movie posters were good to see while talking about the movies. You can add that. So that's one for you there, I think.
Yes. And that's why I put it in here. I am working on that. When it was just John and I had different screens for all of this, and on YouTube, we would transition into this. But I record this in OBS. This is kind of my project over here. So when it's the three of us, I haven't figured out exactly how to manipulate it and get those graphics in there. And the other thing is, it's just been busy lately, and it's been kind of nice because I had that excuse that I don't have that set up, but it's also nice because it takes me to get all of those movies. And now with three of us doing movies, last week we did over 20 movies we talked about. So to grab a screen grab of all of them, put them into the folder here, and then while we're doing the show, click through. That takes me at least an hour to an hour and a half before every show to put all of that together when it was just John and I. So I used to do screen grabs for all of the shows we talked about, all the content, and the 4K releases. So unfortunately right now, the YouTube is just us talking, and I apologize, but I know a lot of people just listen to us at YouTube too. So, but it will be coming someday. I am working on it. I have a design right now that I'm transitioning us to one side, and then I just need to come up with a good background. So,
but to be fair though, the way you did it last time and the way you've been doing it with splitting up the show notes into individual movies, and that way anybody that wants to know what film we're talking about, what we've been talking about, can just look at that. And I think when we talk about them, we always say where they're from, how we've got them, how we've watched them. So it's not as though you necessarily need the cover. You would know what film we're talking about and where to get it. So in the meantime, there are ways around it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it is, I mean, where it's for YouTube, it is a visual medium, and just to see our ugly mugs the whole time. It's it's like, I get it. And it's nice to get those in there just as a reference. It's just, but this is an audio-based podcast in the first place, and I'm just messing with the YouTube thing, and it's growing, and it is growing. And what I love about this, like Deepak says here, it's like, this is the stuff that drives me. I'm already working on it, and we were doing it before, so it is something I recognize. But I love that people write in and they appreciate it, and they're like, hey, this is how I love getting critiques, ideas, stuff like that. Most I'll probably end up using, and others I've said no to, but I have no problem with people coming up with ideas or critiques at all. I love it.
There is another way.
What's that?
I've just thought of something. We can co-opt Jen into this. And as we mentioned the film, she can run in the background and change the posters behind you for the film we're talking about.
I've already got that idea, and I don't need Jen. I'm working on another idea for my backdrop. But the problem for that one is it's only it would only be my screen.
Oh, and smaller on the thing.
It's smaller, right? So I've already been working on that one. John and I even talked about it. I've got a whole new backdrop I'm going to be working on too. So This is a work in progress, and I love it. Absolutely love it. And yeah, so I could go on
I still
all
think
day
Jen,
about
like
that.
a ring girl in boxing, can just walk in the background and just sort of walk around and then turn and then sort of walk back. You know, there's no reason why not.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to
Ding,
say perhaps
ding, next movie.
I was going to say get one of your pets in, but let's not have you anywhere near the pets at the moment. Let's just stay well away from the pets. Let's not have that.
Yeah, we don't need me pulling another DJ.
No, well, indeed, yes. Allergic to gravity.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, all right. You read Deepak, right? So
yeah, Blue Wave's your next one.
All right, Blue Wave, home theater experience from Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special on YouTube says, is it me or did it feel longer than 7 days since we've heard you guys? Keep up the great work. No, it's not you. It was 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks since we heard all of us. But where you might be, like I did the podcast I did the Thanksgiving one in the meantime. So there was no real break from an actual home theater podcast, but there was a 14-day break or space between the three of us sitting down again. So yeah, it wasn't just you. It was real. So glad you survived that experience, Blue Wave. Go ahead with the Blue Wave again.
Okay. Yeah, so Blue Wave again, same YouTube comments on the same episode, so the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. And Blue Wave saying, you changed my mind, DJ. Keep one top 10 and weave in the streaming shows that deserve to be there.
Yeah.
So that's the mention we talked about with the he initially suggested top 10 of physical media and then top 10 of streaming. And when we thought it was not a great idea, and yet we almost immediately came up with 10, just as we were talking generally.
Right.
So we sort of talked ourselves both into it and then out of it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And my favorite point on all that is let's get them meshed together. So that when a streaming does crack the top 10 of physical media, that's a good one, right? And it's like, and as the years go by, you'll be able to see more streaming will be cracking the top 10, I think. And you'd be like, this is just as good. I could see 5 years from now, it'll probably all be streaming. Who knows? Because who knows where physical media is going to go or how good streaming gets. So it's going to be fun to watch, and that's what I look forward to why I look forward to talking about this stuff every year. And it's at the end of the year, like there's so much great stuff out there right now for home theater. So much great stuff.
There is.
So
there is.
All right. Next one's an email. Subject is theater experience. Says, good morning, home theater nerds. Last night I took my son to the movies to see Strange World. It was the first time I've been in a theater since No Time to Die came out last year, and my first time in a theater since I got my Sony projector earlier this year. The theater I went to, Cinemark, is a pretty new theater. The movie, Disney, was very colorful, as you would expect, but I didn't feel the picture looked anywhere near as good as it does in the C-Den cinema with my projector. I felt like my projector is sharper and the colors pop better. I also was confused why in the theater there were actually dark gray bars above and below the picture. Aren't they supposed to mask that out? The sound was okay, but nowhere near as good as my system, and I have much more comfortable recliners. So other than the sheer size of the screen, I felt that my own cinema was far and away better than what I experienced last night. Other than the occasional blockbuster like Indiana Jones, there is really no reason I can see for going back to a movie theater. Best regards, Jonathan of the C-Den Cinema. Yeah. And more and us home theater nerds are saying this. I'm the same way. I 100% agree. And for me, it's almost like if I don't see it on opening night with a good crowd, I'm waiting, because that's part of the experience that I'm going to the cinema for. And it's, unless it's a big blockbuster that I just couldn't be there on opening night, but it's our theaters. It's like we have much better sound, because it's geared towards that seat. Everything's calibrated to you the way we do our theaters. Your screens, much better black levels, much better experience, sharper, brighter, deeper blacks. I mean, it's insane what we're getting at home. And then you go to the theater and like you said, sheer size, you're like, well, yeah, that's great. But it's not even close. It's not even close.
Yeah, that email could have been written by me, other than the projector. That really could have been. I mean, I've been saying it for a long time. You and I have discussed it on these heretofore mentioned Takeover Tuesdays. That literally had a, if every movie, as it was sometimes in the pandemic, if every movie was released day and date at home, as it is in the cinemas, I can't imagine a film that I would feel the need to go to a commercial cinema and see. No. And I include in that things that I'm really looking, even Avatar, even, Indiana Jones, movies that I'm really looking forward to, but give me those at home any day of the week, and I will quite happily just not bother with the cinema. It's got to be something very special to get me to go. Wakanda Forever was the last time I went. Prior to that, I can barely remember the last time I went to. Thor: Love and Thunder would have been before that. That would have been so months and months and months all through the summer city season. I was happy to just wait. Oh, sorry, no, forgive me, Maverick. Sorry, Top Gun Maverick, of course. Sorry, yeah. So that one. But other than that, that was it. There was just everything else. Quite happy to wait and see at home and enjoy, and definitely would enjoy it more at home. And it's not just for me, it's not just the technical stuff, although everything you said about that, it 100% applies. It's also the experience of getting there. It's the experience of sitting down. It's no adverts, no other people talking. No, you can control the environment. So it's not just the technical side of it. You can control all of the other atmosphere that you've got around you, and that's just as important. And funny enough, DJ, that would be something worth talking to the directors coming onto the podcast about how they feel about that. The environment of the cinema beyond the technical side of it, because that's what grinds my gears. That's what winds me up before the film even begins. I've got to see endless adverts that just drive me crazy, endless trailers that I've already seen. And then when you finally get to the film, if it's then not exhibited properly, then of course that it's just that added extra knife that's been stuck in and twisted. And so I'm in a bad mood before it even begins. And that can't be conducive, can it, to a good experience? So, and if we're all about the experiences, and we are, then that goes, doesn't it? As soon as you lose that, it's gone. You're just not setting off in the right way, and that's the only reason I can think of why so many films I see at home I really enjoy, and when I see them in the cinema, I come out invariably annoyed.
yeah, exactly. And like you said, we're all about it. We talk about the experiences, and part of that is the experience. And like I think of like Spider-Man: No Way Home and the reveals. That and the experience that I got during those reveals, that if you wait till you see it at home, you're not going to get the same. It's not in that situation. That's flip flop. That's not even close. And to the point that even in the movie, there's a gap, right? And I didn't even, I heard it and I felt like it was a little awkward, but it wasn't until I heard Tom Andry say it on AV Rant. And he's like, they have the gap in there for the laugh track or whatever, but it's not there or not the laugh track, but everybody to go, the cheer track, I should say.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, he's right. I couldn't put my finger on what it was, but I'm like, this just feels a little different, And but it was when he said that, I was like, you're right. And they put that into the movie because they knew in the theaters people would be like cheering and screaming, and you were like, wow. So now that marker to me is just as emotional at home because I did get to experience it live, right? But imagine going to that theater with an empty theater and seeing that and being like, yay, well, you're the only one, or nobody's really excited or whatever. But there is something, it's like going to a concert, right? Going to, without a tux, I'm talking rock and roll concert, right? There is something about that experience.
Denim tuxedo.
Right. There is something about that experience, live music and stuff. And that there is something, and then you don't want to just invite your favorite band to your house and play for you. That's boring. It's the crowd that gets you going. I mean, that would be cool, but you know what I mean? So there is something to be said for that part of it. But what the other part I was going to say about Jonathan and not having been to the theater, Jonathan over the last year has had questions and concerns. Am I getting the most? What we all do, FOMO, right? What am I missing? What's going on here? Is my theater good enough? And I'm like, I don't compare my theater to others, to like other people's theaters. I compare my theater to the experiences I've had. I'm trying to duplicate or better the experiences I've had going to the movies, right? When I go to somebody else's house, that's tuned to their liking. And don't get me wrong, they're great, but we are fine tuning these things, and we all have an ear for that fine tuning. Our friends that their eyes glaze over about home theater stuff, they don't know the difference between my theater, your theater. It's like, oh, well, he has a big screen, he has a projector. What's the difference? They see that, but the actual experience of being in the room, they're blown away either way. But we go in and we're going to hear the difference. You might be running something a little hot, and your bass might be a little higher. You might be doing this, whatever it is. There might be but what you need to compare it to, and that's another reason to go to the theaters every so often, just to go there and go, yep, this place sucks. Go home, sit down in your comfy chair, and watch all of your content, because that's the ultimate gauge, right? And it's like, I don't care if the first time you thought of building a home theater was because you went to somebody else's, but you're trying to duplicate the theater experience, going to the cinema experience, right? You just saw somebody else had one, and you're like, this is possible? Okay, I'm going to do it. So that's what we're trying to duplicate. And I think Jonathan right here is like, this is like the icing on the cake. It's like he's had a tough year not a tough year. I mean, he has a great theater, but we're always trying to think like, am I getting the best I can? And yeah, you are. It's like that's the evidence right there. You came home from a, $100,000, $200,000 room and went, this place stinks. I love mine. And, that's all the evidence you need right there. So,
yeah, 100%.
Okay. You want to read the next one?
Yeah. So I'm not sure who this is from. It ends with my address is.
Yeah.
So it's probably.
I think that might be Gurinder.
Okay,
oh, no, maybe not. I can look it up though.
It's probably John Brock.
Probably.
So it's entitled, I think it's an email, but it's entitled 4K giveaway, total recall. And it begins, wow, that is awesome, DJ. I love listening to your show, and also like that you have teamed up with some of the other podcasts that I listen to as well. It really makes it a closer community that way. Also, the shared knowledge is good for everyone. I also appreciate the giveaway. I've been looking to upgrade that movie to 4K for quite a while now, and now I finally will. My address is I won't go.
So that's Matt. I just looked at it. I didn't put it in the notes here who it was because I took the address out from the notes. But it's Matt Burrows, and he was the one that claimed the Total Recall giveaway. So actually, and not at this point, we should do some giveaways.
Segue. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Where is my? There we go. Let me pull up our giveaways here on the. Let's see. Home HT digital giveaways. We've had a bunch of people claim, but we have a few more to give. We got a few more in this week. We'll give those off, and I'll pick through the. Nobody has claimed Ghostbusters Afterlife yet, and that's it so far that hasn't been claimed, but that I've announced. So let's put in 4 new ones. We'll add in from Dan Carpenter, Edge of Tomorrow, 4K code, and Mark V has donated the code for the 4K series, the entire Bourne series in 4K. The digital codes for all the movies. I think it's 5 movies. All
4.
of them. Is it 4?
Identity, Supremacy, Ultimatum, and Legacy.
Okay.
I think I got those right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, you're okay. I'm just thinking if I can remember them.
Let's see. What else do we have? Let's give a disc away. All right. Disc. Actually, let me mark these so that I know that they're going out. So I know what people are looking for. Okay. Edge of Tomorrow, the Bourne series, the entire Bourne series, all codes. A disc, Resident Evil, the Final Chapter 4K disc. That comes to us from Nelson. He's donating those. He's away right now because somebody claimed Matt. Matt claimed the total recall. I gave the address, but he's away right now. So he's going to mail that out as soon as he gets home. But Resident Evil, and let's do one more. Let's do Warrior 4K code, a 4K code for Warrior. So we got those going for this week.
Great movie.
Yeah. So if anybody wants Ghostbusters Afterlife, Resident Evil, the Final Chapter 4K disc, Warrior, Home Alone is still available.
Because everyone's seen it apart from you.
I know. Edge of Tomorrow and the entire Bourne series. So just let me know and we'll get those out to you as soon as we can. So, but thanks, Matt. Thanks for playing along. Everybody that's played along, everybody that's donating. This is fantastic. I love that we're doing this. And that, oh, by the way, that Bourne series, Dan donated that back in July. And this was before I had the Excel spreadsheet with everybody. Now I'm tracking when they come in, who gave it to me, and this and that. Because I was only getting them sporadically, right? And now, and then it was like, oh no. When it really took off, I was like, I didn't know who had what and where to get it to send it to them. I'm like, I got all this information. I'm like, I'm the car painter. I'm just having fun here. It's like, so I just, oh, okay. So poor Dan, he reminded me like 3 times, don't forget that Bourne series. I was like, oh crap. So I John Brocked it. Okay.
It's fine.
All right. I'll read the next one. That's Garinder. Paint dry in Dolby Digital. That line could be on your Brightside merch. I was like, oh, I should do it. I should put like the Brightside on the front, the logo, and then just the line on the back, like listening to Paint Dry in Dolby Digital. Quote. With a 1 star.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, so great. So great. All right, next one.
Okay, so this is also from Garinder, and I'm glad he's got this in here. You must have just added this one. I haven't seen this one.
Oh, yeah.
It says, for next week's podcast, you should show up with a dunce cap on and say you didn't do your homework or that your dog ate your homework, a.k.a. the Kaleidescape.
The sad thing is, I did my homework.
You did. You both did.
But
you and John both did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you've narrowly avoided detention, which would have been Untitled Chapter to watch Malignant again. So well done for watching it. Now, you're going to talk the Grey next week, but just so I know, because I know what John thinks of it, because he was texting and he told me, and I want to know, just thumbs up or thumbs down on the Grey?
Oh, it's a thumbs up.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's a thumbs up. What did John say? I didn't even see those texts. I think you guys were texting about it when I was at the wedding, and I'm like, I looked down and there were like 14 texts on my phone, and I was like, who the heck is talking to me 14 times? I look and it was you two having a conversation. I was like, oh, I'm not even in on this one. So what did he say? I had to know because he saw it first. He got it on iTunes straight away. Yeah. And he'd watched it within a couple of days. And he really liked it. Yeah. And I'm not sure if he said, I think really liked or even loved it. Yeah. But yeah, he really enjoyed it. And I think he's going to buy it now. I think he rented it on iTunes. He's going to buy it or may have already bought it. Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know we'll talk more about it next time. Yeah. But I just wanted to make sure you enjoyed it. It wasn't one that you thought, what the hell is Steve on about this time?
So yeah, but it's
Oh,
a hell of a film, isn't it?
Oh, Mark. Dan just jumped in on the stream. Dan, I want the Bourne series, so I didn't give it to you, DJ. Brock did again, LOL. And it just hit me. I'm like, I think that was Mark. See, I can't do this. Let me see. Is it? I would love Dan, I would love the Bourne series. And you know what? You get it. Let me see. I'll scroll through here.
Won't it be awkward if it turns out he did give it to you and he's just having it back?
I know.
Maybe he regrets handing it over.
Where see, this is the problem. Is that Dan? No. Let me see. Steve, damn. I swear it was. I don't know. Somebody gave it to me. It wasn't John Brock.
But you watch it, it'll turn out that it was.
Now I'm wondering. Now I'm like, oh yeah. So yeah, it was Mark V. Please, and his last tweet to me was Saturday. During, so all right, I got a lot on my mind. But yeah, he was. I don't know why. Why did I write Dan? See. Anyways, I have it available, and it's there. So, what? Dan says that's exactly what it is, Steve. You got me. What did you just say? I don't even know. I was looking here.
That he actually gave it to you, and now he just wants it back.
Oh yeah. That's what I was hoping. I thought he was screwing with me at first when I read it, but yeah. Oh well. All right. So Mark
but
V.
mainly,
that comes to us from Mark V. and is going to Dan already. So there's the advantage of being in the green room. One, you can call me out. And two, you can get the movies. Yeah, all right.
But well done for doing your homework. And as I said, I'm certainly looking forward to finding out what you guys made of the home theater experience as well as the film.
Yeah.
Because I loved that movie, and I was I just couldn't believe neither of you had seen it or really heard of it.
Yeah.
So I am dying to hear what you guys made of it.
Yeah. I got some things to say. It was good. It was it was fun.
I mean, it is a film, isn't it? And one of those that just surprisingly seems to have passed people by. But Todd Anderson has seen it. He, when I said I was rewatching it, he was like, "Oh, great film." And I've yet to have anybody say to me, "No, I just didn't enjoy it." I've not had anyone say that yet, but you never know,
Right.
So,
no, you don't.
Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, that is good. Okay, at least that's one that I've recommended that you thought was okay, at least.
Yeah, we're okay. Yeah. You're, what's that, one for how many?
Oh, yeah, well, quite, yeah.
Well, we went through October. That was it. I mean, we both like, I've had more and more people not like Northman. And
wow.
Travis and I were just talking about it earlier this week, and it was like, he didn't like it. I was like, I love that movie, but you and I both loved that movie. John didn't even like that one that much. So
no, but to be fair to him, he watched it on a stream, didn't he? He wants to see it again, I think.
Yeah.
But what's surprising about John is he loves Vikings.
And
then didn't like that. Just like one is interchangeable to the other. I'm going to watch Northman again before the end of the year. I
might have to
it's
as well.
One of my favorite. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, if not my favorite. I love that. So I think that's if we do a top 10. If we do one,
we'll
for the three of us.
Well, the three of us will do one too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be up there. Yeah. But no, it's great. I love that film. I think it's in not just a movie, but also the home theater side of it too.
Right.
It's just soon as it begins, how anyone hasn't just got a big dopey grin on their face as that voice begins over the volcano. It couldn't be any more, Viking or Scandinavian or Norse. And it's just it's great.
So good. So good. All right. Who reads this last one?
Was there another one?
Yep. One more.
Done that. Okay.
Did you see it?
That's Gorinder. Yeah, I think I did. So that's the homework one. And then the last one then is just WV Brew saying, Brightside, I wonder who the 5 people are. Story behind that, ?
And he had a picture of a T-shirt. WV bought a T-shirt with the logo, Brightside Home Theater T-shirt. And there are 5 people in the bottom of the triangle. Okay. Yeah. And I had just sent it to you guys, 2 weeks ago, a week ago? I was looking at the back of my phone. I have the, Brightside Home Theater phone. And I was just looking at the back of it, and I saw the 3 guys, and I sent it, I screen grabbed it and then zoomed in on the top 3 in the logo. And I was like, look at that. I was like, we were destined to have 3 guys, right? But the 5, so I thought that was pretty cool. But the actual 5 is in reference to the 5 seats I have in my cinema.
I thought so. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Because I have 3 in the back row and I sit in the center. My prime seat is the second row. And then I have 2 in the front that are scooched pretty close to the screen. But yeah, that was the seating in my theater, and I figured I'd work that in there. And that's where I came up with that. They all have a meaning. The triangle, the bright side, all that. It all has meaning. So yeah, good question, WV. I love it.
Like the Da Vinci Code, but more home theater-ish.
Da Vinci Code's in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is
you
that
don't know why? Huh? Triangle.
I think, is it? Yeah, it's the triangle thing, isn't it?
It's both Da Vinci Code. I didn't know
That's
that.
a treasure?
No, the upside down triangle is the honoring women. That's
okay.
Okay, because the right side up, okay, with the point up, that's the symbol of male. Get it? Upside down is female. So an upside down triangle is honoring women, and then triangle. I was taught, one of the first things my dad taught me about geometry or anything like that when we were building stuff, a triangle is the strongest shape because it's got the 3 sides. You want to make a square stronger, you put a board diagonally across it and you have 2 triangles and that stabilizes it, right? So triangle is absolutely, look at a bicycle, it's 2 triangles. That's how you build a bicycle, and it's like all of these things. Triangle is absolutely the strongest shape. And it's like looking at all architecture and stuff, things that are it's all triangles holding everything up. So, but yeah, so triangle. And then you get into, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Everything's trilogy, try this, try that. And it's like triangles are everywhere. So but yes, Da Vinci Code was in there because I wanted it upside down like that for that reason. Then I knew I wanted a triangle. And here's one more for the listeners, which was so cool when we did our first Thanksgiving podcast. I don't know if anybody else noticed this. When we did the first Thanksgiving podcast, it was obviously Bright Side. We had HT guys. And we had AV Rant, and we had each shape, a triangle, a square, and a circle in our logos, just out of coincidence. And I didn't come up with a triangle because they were already doing squares and circles, right? But AV Rant's logo is round, and HT Guys is like, it's not exactly a square, it's a rectangle, but we have all the 3 shapes, which I thought was really cool. So when I was doing this year's open for it, I grabbed the logo from AV Gadgets and I made it a square just to fill in for HT Guys. So, see?
That's awesome. See, it's all got meaning. It's
Yes, it does.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
It's all connected. It's all connected. All right. Now we have to get to what's coming soon. Boom. All right. December 13th, coming up on Tuesday, December 13th in 4K, we have Highlander in 4K. I'm actually looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up. Is it a special
you don't
edition
sound
or is that just a normal?
as keen on it.
We've talked about this before briefly.
Yeah.
It's one of those films I can't quite put my finger on why I don't love it the way lots and lots of people do. I'll buy I think there's a special edition out here which is really expensive, and then they've got a single edition coming soon, and I think I'll probably pick that up, but more because I think I should own it more than me thinking that I want to own it, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I don't dislike it. I don't have any animosity towards it. I just don't love it.
Right.
Like so many people
that sounds
do.
Funny. I don't have any animosity towards it. It's allowed to exist. I just don't want it.
Yeah. I'm happy that there should be only one.
But yet they went on and made another one.
Yeah, they did. They did. I know I'm committing a cinematic sin by declaring my lack of love for Highlander, but somehow it just passed me by. But I'll pick it up. But I when it's cheap.
I think this movie has a chance at a new 4K master actually has a chance to shine, improve. Like if I haven't seen it in a while, but there's some tonal qualities to this that I think can be enhanced by all of that. I think the soundtrack can be enhanced. Hopefully they do something with that. But I love the movie. I remember I rented this as a kid. I think it was a rainy day, and I was just like, oh, I'll just shoot down to the video store and grab this. But yeah, I haven't seen it in a while. I've owned it. I own it in other formats, but yeah, I'll be picking this one up, especially if it pops onto the Kaleidescape in 4K. All right, next Carrie from 1976 coming in 4K in two different box covers. We have the regular, and then I think it was Steelbook. Kind of late. What's this doing coming out in December?
Yeah, you think they should have got that out in October, shouldn't they, really?
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know if I'll be picking that one up this month, but I'm sure I'll be picking it up at some point, probably next October or something. I'll be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll probably re-release it.
Yeah, it's a good film. I mean, it's it's one of. I mean, prior to Frank Darabont, it was one of the better Stephen King adaptations. Prior to obviously Shawshank and Green Mile, it was still really good, and The Mist. Yeah. But yeah, no, it is. I'll pick that up, but I won't pick it up yet. That's next year when it's a bit cheaper. It's one of those buy it when it's three for $20 or £20 or whatever it is.
Yeah. We have Caroline coming in 4K. From 2009.
Or Coraline. Is that Coraline?
Oh, is it Coraline? Yeah, Coraline.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's the stop motion thing, isn't it?
Yep. That's coming in 4K. Another Highlander Steelbook. And that one is actually really nice. It's got the sword on the front stuff. And if I had gotten the images, you'd be able to see them on YouTube, but nope. You'd have to just go look it up.
Just imagine it.
Just imagine it. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Paranorman from 2012. I've never even heard of that one. Have you seen that?
It's another stop motion film. It's like Coraline. There's three of them, I think, coming out the same day. Yeah. The Kubo is it coming as well?
Paranorman. I don't see the other one.
No, I thought there were three. I might be wrong. No. Oh, Kubo's just been announced. Sorry, that's just been announced. Okay. It's coming out next year.
Yeah, I don't see another one like that. But yeah,
those are filmed. I mean, Paranorman and Coraline are much loved. But again, I've seen them. I've got them in 3D actually. On 3D Blu-ray. Yeah, and they were very much celebrated on 3D. Lots of people really like them. Again, I've got a little bit of an issue with stop motion animation as a whole film. I just find it a little bit distracting. I personally, I mean, obviously, the days of Sinbad and all that, the Voyage of Sinbad and those sorts of things, they were great. The Ray Harryhausen stuff, because there was no other choice. And Ed 209 in RoboCop, those were great. But an entire film of it, I find it, and again, massive cinema sin here. I find it a little bit hard to get into. The jerkiness is, and obviously, bloody hell, flipping the walkers, of course, in Empire Strikes Back, of course. Those I can, that's fine in individual sequences, but a whole film like it, I find it a little bit distracting, personally, and I know only me, no one else.
I honestly just don't get into them anymore because they're mostly for kids. And there's so much other content out there. I haven't found myself going back to these, and I really need to, because I went to them before I had kids, and now that my kids are older, I stopped, and it's I don't know why. I don't know.
I think something like Coraline in particular, Paranorman, I don't remember lots about, but Coraline is a film kind of aimed at kids, but it's actually quite dark. It's quite a twisted story. Yeah, it's very Tim Burton-esque without being a Tim Burton film. I mean, it has some elements of that it's not for young kids, put it that way.
Yeah.
It's odd, and it deals with the afterlife and characters coming back from the dead with buttons for eyes and all this kind of stuff. It's quite creepy. But yeah, I mean, worth watching at some point. Perhaps rent it, see what you think.
Yeah. Speaking of dark, Smile in 4K coming out.
Oh, John's favorite.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I'm going to see it. I want to see it.
Oh, you haven't seen that one. That's the one you haven't seen.
No. Yeah, I do want to see it, but it's based on John's less than glowing recommendation.
Right. Makes it tough.
I think I'm gonna rent it first and watch it rather than buy it, because I know he's got a horror eye, and the last thing I want to do is is spend that kind of money if I can avoid it.
Right.
Because we're only going to watch it once. Why bother?
Exactly. My Best Friend's Wedding from 1997, Julia Roberts. That's coming. Silent Running in 4K from 1972. Yep. So
progenitor to Star Wars.
Yep.
In fact, a lot of the same guys that did the model and effects work on that. Then Star Wars, didn't they?
And there was a lot of references to that in 5/25/77.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, it's pretty cool. So, yeah, that's coming out next Tuesday. The Woman King from this year.
Now that I do want to see.
I haven't seen it yet. I've heard it's really good.
Very good. Yeah, it's in the running for Oscars, isn't it? It's going to be nominated, they think. I really want to see that. But that's a classic example of a film that I would not go to the cinema and see it. Yeah. But I think it's a very theatrical and very cinematic film. But I'm quite happy to see that at home. I think I'll enjoy that a lot more than I would have done seeing it with a load of other people.
Yeah.
So I'll be picking that up. I think we don't get that till the new year. I don't think. But as soon as it's out, that's a blind buy for sure. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It's got John Boyega in it, and he's got quite a big role in that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, Reacher season 1 from what was that on Amazon Prime?
Yeah,
I think that was that was Amazon Prime. So more Amazon Prime coming in 4K. So that's fantastic. So
there's no sign of a release here for that yet, unfortunately.
No.
So I'll have to import that. Yeah.
I love
it's
that
great.
series.
Reacher's really good.
But
you were a bit disappointed with the TV, with the image quality, weren't you? So it'll be interesting to see if that's corrected on the discs.
Yeah. I'll probably grab it. If it shows up on the Kaleidescape, I'll probably grab this as well. I've been really enjoying when they put them out there, the 4K versions. A lot of this stuff we just got. The first season of Game of Thrones in 4K. Otherwise, it's all in HD, which still looks great. Wow. But they just upgraded the first season to 4K.
Do you have to buy it again? So if you've bought the Blu-ray, do you have to buy it again?
No, it's like a $4. It's like $4.
Like you get wow, that's good.
$4 to upgrade it. So yeah.
Wow. That's not bad at all, is it? That's actually really good value.
That's what Travis and I were just talking about earlier in the week. It's like he already owned Pulp Fiction, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I didn't. I was just trying to save space. But if it came in 4K, I was going to buy it. So I've been watching for it since they've announced that it was coming in 4K. And I'm like waiting, and I'm looking, and it was still in HD because sometimes they get it early. And sure enough, like when Travis and I recorded, it was before, it came out, and it wasn't there. And I was checking literally hourly. But what happened, like maybe a week and a half ago, they took it off. You could only rent it in HD. You couldn't buy it anymore because they didn't want people buying it for like whatever it was, $14.99, and then just paying the $4. So I bought it on Tuesday today for $24.99. Travis paid $4 or $4.99 to upgrade. So he had already got it, so it is nice. So if you already own them and you get upgrade, like, what did I just get upgraded recently? I own the, one of the Underworld movies, not the first one.
Okay.
I think it just got Atmos added to it. Whichever one in the series wasn't in Atmos already on Kaleidescape. And I just happened to notice today, they're like, oh, here, download your upgrade. So you get the upgrade. It was $4 or whatever to upgrade it. But so, maybe it wasn't in 4K. So, but yeah. So, the seasons I've been really liking. Like I did, all the, Tom Clancy's, Jack Ryan season. I did that all on Kaleidescape. I might go back through on Reacher if that comes out in 4K because I really did like that season. So
it was good. It was. Yeah.
It was good. So, have you ever heard of this one? Lyle Crocodile? 4K?
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes, well, yeah. I've seen half of it.
Okay.
And that was enough for me. I watched, to be fair, I did not watch it on my own. Let the record show. I was watching it with someone age appropriate. I think it's based on a children's story. And actually, I thought it was a bit like Stuart Little. I thought it was kind of quite a big thing in America, not so big over here. And it's about it's so stupid. It's about a crocodile who goes to live in New York, and he's living in an apartment building there, and he can't talk, but he can sing. So he can sing lyrics and stuff, but can't speak. At least up to the point that I got to. He couldn't talk; he could just sing. And it's about a boy who then finds him, and then they develop a friendship, and then it's how that all develops. So it's a very kids movie, and it's only for kids. There is no adult subtext to this at all, and it's all right. For young children, it's okay. But no, none of us are going to be picking
not a
it
home
up
theater experience. We're going to write home about.
Yeah, no, not unless you're writing home to say, why the bloody hell did I pick this up? Otherwise, it's not going to be a film to recommend for anyone over the age of about 8.
Right. There you go. All right. That's it. That's what's coming on Tuesday the 13th. So, all right. Are we ready to get to our real experiences? Our EEL?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Why don't you start us off? You have quite the list there. I think your first one. Oh no, why don't you start with your first one there?
Yeah. So the first one is a very Christmassy film, perfect for this time of year. The 2013 version of Evil Dead. So now this is another one. Remember I said last time where there were 3 movies that I'd had as birthday presents. This is the 4th one. And this had to be imported from America. It's not available over here, and there's no sign of it coming out here. And it's another Shout Factory release. So they've redone it. It's in 4K. It's in 5.1 DTS, so upmixed to Neural X. And the movie is as gory, graphic, and violent as anything you can think of. The original Evil Dead films, which I know you haven't seen, are horror comedies. They are deliberately over the top. They are grotesque to make you laugh.
Yeah.
And whereas this is a straight, no jokes, no messing around. This is just what would happen if your friends were possessed by this thing, and it's body horror. It is as graphic and violent as you could imagine. So the film itself is great.
Yeah.
And lots of people like it. If you're a gore hound, it's all good, and I happen to be, and it's great. However, but the home cinema side of this is where it really shines. The 4K is new, so you've got a lovely extra details. The HDR is brilliant. Yeah, it is as much as I know. It starts with sort of lots of establishing shots of this cabin in the woods, not that cabin in the woods. Although that's where the homage comes from, by the way. Cabin in the woods comes from this cabin in Evil Dead, and so you get lovely shots through the woods, through the trees, of some really sort of dark colors and greens and kind of and interplaying that with lighter colors of vehicles, that sort of stuff. And the extra detail levels and the shadow details really do add something to it. And I've seen this film a lot. I saw it at the cinema. I saw it on Blu-ray. I've seen this in 4K, and it is noticeably different. You don't have to A/B this to see the differences. You can see it straight away. And bearing in mind the color purity of the blood and the gore and I'm sorry to say, the pus and everything else is much. I know. If you're not feeling well, already,
it is the holidays.
Help you. Yeah, there you go. But it's really enhanced by and the only reason I talk so much about the image quality is that that's the only new thing. The audio is the same as the Blu-ray. So the image quality is what it's worth buying this for. And if you've got a nice, decent size and a decent quality screen, you will see the differences. And if you like the film, this is the way to see it.
Yeah.
The audio, luckily, they haven't tinkered with. This does not need a DTS-X or an Atmos track. The Neural X upmixing is of an already amazing soundtrack. And it starts off with just this Evil Dead logo that screams, literally, and at the screen, it just comes on with these sort of choral voices, and it's like you've just been pushed to the back of your room. It just goes bang like that, and the whole film's like it. There's storms going throughout the film. There's voices echoing all around the room of this possessed thing in the woods, and it's great. So if you like that, it's really good. It's not for you. I'm not going to suggest you buy it, DJ. There's no point. There's no point.
Exactly.
But it's a hell of a movie, and if you like it and you think you might like it, then this is the only way to see it. So yeah, it's great. It really good for me, not for you.
There you go. All right. I will start off then with 5/25/77 Blu-ray with it's absolutely amazing. I know a lot of people, Travis and I talked about it the other day. By the time you hear this, I will have already recorded with Patrick Reed Johnson, and I'm just I can't talk about it enough. The movie itself is fantastic, but I think as a home theater experience, that's what I'll talk about here. I'm not sure. I haven't recorded with Patrick yet, so I don't know how much we'll get to that. But the home theater experience is really good, and the variable aspect ratios, and they use all of them. It's 16 by. It's funny if you go on IMDb and you'll see it listed there, and it's 16:9, 185, and 235, and 4:3, and they all mean something. And even to the point that, like, I think in the 4:3, they actually shrink it down to look, and they round the edges for like a television set type thing. There's grain. They bring it because it's from they're making it like the 70s. There's some scenes in there that, like, when it flips to that, when you find the first time you realize you're getting variable aspect ratios like 47 minutes in, and the picture just goes really crisp. And you're like, holy crap, you go from 185 or 16:9 maybe down to, the 235. And everything just gets crisp and stuff. And it is really well done. A lot of fun. But then the sound for it, there was so it starts off, like I said, there's a lot of grain, and you feel like they're giving you that low budget 70s vibe, right? Like, a lot of this is about a kid shooting on 8mm in his backyard. So it's like that's the vibe they're trying to give you, right? So you're getting that, and the sound is coming from the front of the room, okay? And you're sitting there, and then all of a sudden it's like 5 minutes. I can't remember what the song was, but the soundtrack moves from the front of the room into your room, and you're like, oh wow, like this. It kind of surprised me a little bit. And that I really, really liked that, because I was like, it's a DTS, 5.1 soundtrack. But it wasn't, the sound on this was anything but low budget to me. It just sounded really, really good, and some good effects. It doesn't lend yourself to like huge pans or anything like that, but there are a few things here and there. But the way the soundtrack is pretty important in this as well. So the way it fills your room, it's a lot of fun on that. Really, really enjoyed that. Let me see. Do I have some timestamps? I have a 2-minute mark. There's a cough, and I forget which side of the room it's on, but it is there. Let's see. And at 20-minute mark, there is a be quiet on the left side of the room. They're in a movie theater, I believe, and you just hear something like everybody's like, hey, be quiet. And it's like on the left side. It's like you're in the theater. It was very well mixed. At the 28-minute mark, this is why, like, Travis and I are super excited to talk about this, because at the 28-minute mark, there's a conversation that goes on, and these cheerleaders pull up, and this is what, like, the home theater nerd, we've all experienced this. They catch you in that conversation. Am I, like, we're out in public and you and I start talking home theater. Well, they were talking, I think, 2001 Space Odyssey, and they're nerding out, and the girls just come up and they're like, ugh. And you're just like, just nailed the scene. You're just like, oh my God. It was awesome. Let's see. Yeah, it was like 53-minute mark for the variable aspect ratio. And then there's a line in the movie that I absolutely loved, that I hope I get the opportunity to tell them on Thursday, but you know how those things go. But I wanted to say it here, and it hit me because of my dad, and my dad just used it earlier this weekend. He didn't use this line, but we were laughing. I was talking to my son-in-law's father. It was me, my father, and my son-in-law's father. It was the morning after the wedding. And we're sitting there, and me and Greg's dad are sitting there. We're like, you just enjoy those times in the car, right? Those alone times with your son where you get to have these conversations. And my dad's just sitting right next to me. And that's the relationship we have. And he would lean into it and he goes, not with this one. And it's because of the line in this movie. And there's a line in the movie where the guy looks at him and he goes, have you seen 2001: A Space Odyssey? And the kid goes, yeah. And his eyes light up and he goes, oh, you're a hand grenade and I just pulled the pin, aren't you? And I loved it because I'm like, that's my dad. That's like, oh my God, he's going to start. Here we go. How was the movie, Deej? Oh, I shouldn't have said that. And it was like, I just loved that line, but it's hearing that, I heard it before, and then I watched the movie again when I came home, and then hearing it again with the context of my dad sitting right next to me going, oh God, no, he just doesn't stop. It was so funny. So, but there's all sorts of stuff throughout this movie that are just like that for nerds like us, that you just lean right into it, and there's something for everybody in here, but especially for us nerds. So, pretty cool. So.
Now, I'm going to have to change the combination to my safe now that 52577's out there. Sorry. Rubbish joke.
I didn't mean to put the combination in your in the podcast.
Done now.
You got that's your safe. It's got 3 like the old. What do you got? Old high school lock on it from your locker.
Yeah. Just a crowbar.
Not very good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So, all right, what do you got next?
Okay, so I have finally seen Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. Woo!
Yeah, after all these years. Now, good news. The good news is I absolutely loved it. Way more than I thought I would. I thought I might just... Yeah, I loved it. I was laughing all the way through. I saw it on my own in the cinema room. I just chucked it on, had a bit of time. I thought, now's the time to see it. And yes, I thought it was great. And it may be now my favorite of the three, or four. There are four out there, but I think it could be next to European Vacation, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, that's good too.
But this was very, very good indeed. I completely agree with you in terms of the home cinema side of it. It's nothing to write home about. You're not going to be too excited about it. It is what it is. It's a comedy. It's not relying on flashy visuals or sound or anything like that, really. But as a film, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny indeed. And some great lines. Randy Quaid's got some great stuff in it. The thing about the microwave and the, every time she fired up the microwave, I peed my pants and couldn't remember who I was. I mean, I was almost crying at that line. Just the way he says it. It's just
can't go down the hill with nothing between my head and a piece of government plastic.
Yeah.
Just that's great. The problem.
That's it. I thought it was class. And actually a bit more slapstick than I was expecting from the previous ones, but very, very funny. And it was good. And I enjoyed then going on IMDb after and looking at the various trivia, because of course I know from you and many others that it's a well-loved film, and picked up all kinds of fun trivia about the movie, one of which I'll get to when we get to Lethal Weapon in a bit. But I noticed one thing that was on here that was on Twitter, which I know you've said about and you dropped it into the notes.
Go ahead.
Is that the Mae Kestrel, who's played by Aunt Bethany, was a famous voice actress, and one of her last roles prior to this was, I think, her last role, and one of her roles that she was well known for is for playing Betty Boop, Olive Oil, Minnie Mouse, and Felix the Cat. Yeah. So she was the voice of those, which was one of the things I read on the IMDb trivia page. Yeah. But it was great. Such a good film. And I'm so glad you recommended it, because I probably wouldn't have picked it up otherwise. Really? So, well, never just kind of passed me by. I never really saw it. So, thanks to you guys.
It's so good. And what about Randy Quaid's outfit? That that white sweater with the dicky underneath, and you could.
Yeah,
that's where the 4K really shines.
Yes, yeah. He's wearing, by the way, apparently the shoes that Clark gave him in Vacation, or he was given in Vacation.
The white shoes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it all ties in. There's loads of crossovers from the previous ones.
Yeah.
When they talk about the Navy and Russ being a naval name, and has he just got back from the Navy? That's because in an earlier one there was mention of someone in the family who was called Russ, who was in the Navy, and all these kinds of all these lines mean something. They're not just throwaway stuff. So it's very cool, but it's a great film, really good.
I watch it every year. I've never read all that stuff though. I just watch the movie.
It's worth looking. Yeah, well, I like to do it from time to time. If it's an unusual film or it's well beloved and it's a classic film, like the Lawrence of Arabia one I did on that as well, because it's just interesting to see all the stuff about it. And I haven't got time for the extra features. So you can just read this stuff and it tells you all kinds of things you didn't know.
Another one funny about my dad is that when my wife and I were just dating, this was in like 87, and she'd known my dad for probably 6 months or whatever. And then Christmas time came, and my dad is, a lot of people think he's a cop or state trooper or something, because he's very like Clint Eastwood-ish, like very quiet, strong, silent type, just sits there and just like, which is why like he doesn't like to talk. He's not a talker. I am. But he'll just sit there. So like every time my wife saw him, he was always just like, hi. But he's just, I can't even say he's a lovable bear, because he's not even like, he's just a jokester. That's all he does. And like, he's just like me. He just doesn't like to talk. Right. So like sarcastic, great humor. Well, like I said, we started dating in like July. So she comes over the house one day in like after Thanksgiving, and there's my dad at the bottom of the stairs. And she walks in the door and he's like, "Did you see my Christmas lights?" He had just decorated the outside. Now he's all excited about his house. He's Clark. We both are. We're Clark Griswold, right? We're like, I decorate. My wife still suffers through it every year. I'm like, the more colors, the more extravagant, the better. And my dad's like, I still remember my wife coming downstairs and saying like, "I just saw your dad smile." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I was afraid of him." I go, "All this time you were afraid of him?" I go, he's not to be afraid of, but it was Christmas, and it was the Christmas lights, and he's been called Clark Griswold. I've been called Clark Griswold. You come in my house, they're like, "Oh, Clark's at it again." And it's like, it was all of that stuff. It's so funny. And this would have been before Clark Griswold, because that wasn't until 89, but it would have been after that. We would have been like, "You're Clark." But yeah, it was same thing. It's like, just love that. And that's what I love about that movie. And it's like, it's just embracing the Christmas, like, just like he's like, "I just want to have the family here. It's going to be a pain in the ass." Yeah, I know. That's what Christmas is all about.
And I loved all the different plugs and the cords, all of it just in the garage, or just pushed it. That was hilarious. Just so funny. Just all this endless amounts of stuff plugged in.
When I first moved into my house, the lights I had were from my grandfather. He had recently passed away, and they gave me this bucket of Christmas lights, and I plugged them in, and I'm stretching them out on my front lawn, and Steve, now these have been up since probably the 50s. He'd been using these things. He wrapped them in tin foil. He spliced them together and wrapped them in tin foil. I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "But he wanted to keep the water out with tin foil." But it's like, that's what it's like. I get the mentality, and I love my grandfather. He's a wicked smart guy, really intelligent accountant, all of that. But he's just trying to keep the water out, the moisture out, keep it connected. I mean, and I'm unstringing these things for the first time. I'm like, what the hell? And these probably sucked in some serious power, because they were big bulbs, and they were the old school big bulbs. It just like, my electric bill went pew, just like in the movie, like, so funny. So funny. It's crazy the stuff we do.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just for the record, kids, anyone listening or watching this, don't put tin foil around anything electrical.
I scraped it. I pulled it all off. But I mean, he had wrapped it up, tinfoil, saran wrap, keep the water out, this, that. And it's like, it wasn't even electrical tape. I was like, oh boy. So I loved it. I wish, and this was back in the early 2000s before we had the readily accessible camera phones, right? Otherwise, they'd been documented all over the place. But look at this. This is how they did things. But he did it every year. Nothing went wrong. Knock on wood.
Oh, well, progress. Yeah, progress.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. All right. My next one, why don't we lean right into this and we'll go with Lethal Weapon, another Christmas movie. Not really a ton to say about this. I've talked about it on the podcast before as a Christmas movie. Watched it again on the Kaleidescape. This is in serious need of a 4K makeover. You can see dirt on the film through parts of this movie. And I think if they can clean up that and clean up some of the sound, you definitely, I just feel like this, the audio, the video on this is just, it literally feels like 80s. And if it wasn't so nostalgic and such a good movie, I have a lot of fun with all the Lethal Weapons, really. I feel like they found a way to keep it fresh, moving all the way through by adding in the characters. And then, so I'm going to be watching Lethal Weapon 2 soon, maybe tonight. So I'm wondering if there's a nice upgrade in that one, but Lethal Weapon it's a tough disc. And I heard it might be getting a 4K soon. Did we hear that's one of the ones on the horizon?
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, it's one of those I'm keeping an eye open for because Warner's have done a number of catalog releases. But it seems to be in any life of a format, they do the Dirty Harry set and then they do Lethal Weapon. And I would buy both of those sets in a heartbeat. I absolutely love the Lethal Weapon films. And by the way, is the Kaleidescape version the director's cut or is it the theatrical version?
It's the theatrical.
Which is also a shame.
Yeah,
the director's cut. I've got the Blu-ray. I think has got the director's cut.
I love those. The ones where the cut where he goes into the school.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it's amazing. It is. I wish that scene was that should never ever have been cut because it sets. I mean, the movie's great on its own, right? Because it's a different narrative, and it actually the way the movie's edited in the first place, the theatrical cut, it kind of like delays that whole emotion, right? But this brings you right into it, and it's so good.
Yeah, it is. Again, it's one of those where the director's cut is really the only one to see if you can.
Yeah.
Because it does add so much more to it. I love them. They've all three have got director's cuts of the original trilogy. 4, I don't think has, but 1, 2, and 3 definitely have. And they are, those are the ones. I mean, they were released on DVD. I'm not sure. I've got the Blu-ray set, but I don't think they're the director's cuts. I think they're the theatrical ones. But they are very good films. They're all great movies. Yeah. And and the link. And if you want to know the link between Lethal Weapon and Christmas Vacation, okay. So the Griswolds live in one house. Next door are the neighbors, the yuppie neighbors. I don't know what I can't remember their names. The ones who don't really celebrate Christmas. That those two,
Elaine,
the ones that have been
Elaine from Seinfeld,
Julie Louis-Dreyfus, isn't it? Julie Louis-Dreyfus. That house is the Murtaugh's house.
Really?
It's all shot on the Warner's lot. Yep,
I did not.
The Murtaugh's house.
Never noticed. I've watched those movies a million times. I've never noticed that.
Funnily enough, I mean, I've seen Lethal Weapon millions of times. I've seen them all millions of times. But when I was watching this, I thought that house looks familiar, and I remember thinking, that does look familiar, and I sort of was nearly there with Lethal Weapon, but I didn't see it until I read again the IMDb trivia page. But it is the Murtaugh house. Yeah. So when you watch it again,
so in Lethal Weapon, the Christmas Vacation house is right next door, obviously.
Yeah. So when you see them and you'll see the establishing shot, that is the Murtaugh's house from Lethal Weapon.
Oh wow!
So so if you go back and watch it again, you'll see that that's the what it is.
That is and that's why I would love to get this in a 4K. And I mentioned it when I talked about it before. That end scene on their front lawn, that scene with the way the helicopter lights are coming in, the rain coming through, everything that's going on there, when that gets if it gets a 4K, remaster, it's going to look amazing. Because that's an amazing scene anyways. And I mean, I love it I didn't even know what that was back then, the jujitsu that he's doing. That's all real. Like everything they're doing, that's all like legit good stuff. And I'm like, it's great form that when I was a kid, I didn't know what any of that stuff was. And now I'm like, he's actually doing the right moves. Like that's crazy, So it's a great, great scene. But yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. If that gets a 4K, I'd probably jump right to that scene, actually, because it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick it up. I would pick those up in an absolute heartbeat. They're amazing. The only thing I wonder why Warner's might be holding them back is they keep talking about a Lethal Weapon 5, and that keeps rumbling on and rumbling on. Mel Gibson he's been tapped to direct it, I think.
He said he was going to after Donner died.
Yeah.
And they'd been talking about it for a while. Carl says, I can no longer watch Mel Gibson films. Like, well, if you out everybody in Hollywood, we won't have a Hollywood. So I don't get into that stuff. I don't get into that stuff. People pay the price and then they move on. We can move on too. But yeah,
it would be easier to dislike him if he wasn't so damn talented. That's the problem.
No kidding. And it's, I mean, I don't like to get into that stuff. But anyways, so yes, he did say, I heard shortly after Donner had passed away, that he had said he'll step up and do it. And so, it would be, I would love to see it because I'd love to see what they do with it, where they go from there, especially at their age and stuff like that.
So. Well, that's why I wonder whether they're holding back the 4K set to do it all, tie it in and try and release it all at the same time. But that's not normally Warner's style. They don't normally do that. So we may well get it next year, which would be great. And the Dirty Harry films, again, I'm there day one for those. I'll be kicking down the door of the local store for those.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right. What do you got next?
Okay, so very quickly then with a film called No One Lives. I mentioned it briefly last time, very briefly, and then I excited my brain into rewatching it, which is the Luke Evans film, and I'm not recommending this to you, DJ, for a number of reasons. It is a horror, thriller horror, really, and it's Luke Evans is this guy who is none of the film is what you think it is. He's not who you think he is. It's a movie about coercive and controlling behavior, and it has Luke Evans prior to Echo 3, which we'll talk about in a bit, as this absolutely unstoppable force. He is nothing ever touches him. And the title does give away the fact that, what happens. So it's very good. Now, one of the reasons I'm not recommending it is this is the first time I'd watched the Blu-ray in the cinema room that I've got now. Last time I saw it was the old one. And this was a film from 2012, I think. And I'm sorry to say the Blu-ray is poor. Oh. It's a film, lots of it is dark and at night, and it's very flat, very, very flat. The black levels are grey. The grain is inconsistent. The audio is in TrueHD actually, but it's Dolby surround when you upmix it, and that's not much to get excited about either. So I was disappointed in this. I was really looking forward to how it would look and sound, and it was not good. And it at times it looks like a pirate video. It's that. Oh wow! It's just that weak. It's an Anchor Bay release. Yeah. They were never that famous for great quality video from my dealings with them, and unfortunately this rather lets it down. The other reason I'm not recommending it, the IMDb rating has 26 out of 100. Ooh. So I might be the only person that likes it. So it's. But you like the movie. It just wasn't enhanced. Exactly that. No, that's the thing. It's not presented very well. So I'm not recommending that to anyone other than the absolute diehard fans that might want to see it. But yeah, so that's my next one. All right. No One Lives.
All right. Why don't you do another one? And then I'll get to...
Right. Let's do a good one then. Let's do Fall from this year. Now, I don't know, have you heard about this? You seen the trailer for this?
Oh, yeah. I've seen the trailers. I have it. I haven't watched it yet. But I loved your conversation. I almost was going to try to get this one in, but time didn't allow.
It's very quickly. So the two women decide to climb up a radio tower. It's over 2,000 feet high, and they decide to do it for a YouTube thing. I mean, honestly,
of course,
YouTube,
why not?
Shouldn't be allowed. Anyway, so they climb up here, things happen, and it all goes horribly wrong, as it happens in these sorts of films. And then it's kind of how they survive.
Let me step in for John. Of course it goes wrong. Why? How come it just happens to go wrong now? Well, because if they didn't, you wouldn't have a movie. Okay.
That's it. Then it becomes a documentary.
Right. Exactly.
So it all goes wrong. And then there are twists and turns. This is not a straightforward tale of survival. Things happen that are perhaps unexpected. And I'm not going to say any more about it than that. Now this is only available over here on Blu-ray, so 1080p, and in DTS. Neural X will be upgraded it, but it's 5.1. But what we do get here, and this is why I didn't ask Todd, I meant to, is we get the unrated cut here and the theatrical cut.
Oh,
what's interesting about this is the reason that the unrated cut has no extra violence, no extra gore. It's language. They cut all of the F words out of it to get a PG rating in the States and a 12 rating here. But what they used was artificial intelligence to do it.
Oh, wow.
So every time the characters said the F word, they used artificial intelligence to change that word to something else. It's a bit like deepfake, I think. It actually changed the way their lips moved. It actually changed how they did it. Anyway, so we've got both versions, and I don't know what Kaleidescape's got. But video-wise, it's really nice. Even for a 1080p, it's really decent quality. There are some banding issues here and there because there's lots of shots of the sky around the tower. So there is some banding, and you can see that on any sort of normal-sized screen. But the audio is really good, and there are shots that are absolutely beautiful. Now, the reason I say that is because Todd Anderson, after I put up my little mini review on Twitter, he downloaded it on Kaleidescape. He'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
And he watched it and loved it. Enough to do a very, very nice, very sweet little shout-out video to me and to others.
Yeah, he did. That was pretty cool.
Classy. Very cool thing to do. And he was showing off his Portuguese water dog as well. But he was... He was saying how much he enjoyed it, and he says the 4K on Kaleidescape is, his word, delicious.
Yes,
which is quite cool. So so apparently it's very, very good, and so recommend it. And the Blu-ray is really, really good, but the 4K version on Kaleidescape is apparently even better. So well worth picking up that one. Well worth seeing.
And it's funny, that's why I had heard about it before. I heard about it somewhere along the line that it was. That's why I bought it. It was supposed to be a really good 4K movie, and I was like, oh, okay. And I mean, I love the image, the cover, the poster, but it was supposed to be really good. So I was like, all right, I'll grab that. It's been sitting there waiting to go. And then you guys were talking about it. And I was like, do I have it? And I look, I already got it. So, okay.
But if you get to see it though, I'll be curious to see whether it's the rated or the unrated version.
It's PG-13. It says, I just looked it up on Kaleidescape. And it's PG-13 version. It says for strong language, but I know in PG-13 they're only allowed to use the F word once, which is funny.
There are 32 of them in the unrated version.
Oh, jeez.
I haven't counted. It's just I know.
Right. Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's a good film. It's a really well done film. It's really good.
Let's see. We'll go with, I guess my last one that I have of my own is Pulp Fiction 4K with DTS Master Audio 5.1 on the Kaleidescape. Just dropped this morning. Downloaded it. Unbelievable. I was honestly a lot like you said about what was the one you weren't expecting it to be. Oh, Christmas Vacation. I love the movie. I've seen the movie, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't expecting it to look as good as it does. And the entire time I was going through it, the only thing I can imagine is I watched this movie so many times on a 32-inch television, on Laserdisc or whatever, in such a lesser format that all of the other viewings that I had that like Blu-ray or DVD, that they just don't compare in my memory. So when I'm watching this, it's just absolutely gorgeous. the colors, the way the HDR, the way it made one of the best scenes I think I could say would be I'm trying to think of so remember when he goes in it's at the beginning. I mean, this is, if you haven't seen Pulp Fiction, I mean, oh geez. But when he goes into the bar, when they show up at the bar and you have Bruce Willis sitting there talking to Ving Rhames, and it's a close up on Bruce Willis. But if you remember that scene, that bar is like heavy red, right? It's like all red lights are on in that place. And in my memory, everything was red. You know, red lights, everything's red. Bruce Willis is red. The background, everything's red. Now, the lighting just on Bruce Willis's face, the lighting is more natural. It's like this one side of his face is actually well lit with with warm light, but it's not red, right? It's normal lighting. The blue lights, that's what really got me, is there's blue lights in the background and stuff. And the separation in color between those blue lights and the red all over, it's awesome. That scene alone, you can just go through and just sit there and be like, this scene. Like, you just want to see different things in the background. Then when Travolta and Sam Jackson walk in and you're seeing them in their t-shirts and their shorts and stuff now, but you don't know why. And they come in, there's separation there. It's like the colors, the textures, their faces, the close-ups of their faces. You can see the pores in their faces so much better. And it really is. The soundtrack is really good. Obviously, we love this movie. There was one when she tells him, when she goes on the intercom, when Travolta goes to see Uma Thurman for the first time, right? And she's like on the intercom and she's like, push the button, and he's as high as a kite or whatever. But when she's on the intercom, I would have loved to have had them pull that sound out into the room a little bit more. Right. It gave it an echo, but it didn't pull it out into the room. But it was still, I mean, you still got like, Vincent, over here, the dance scene sounded phenomenal, looked phenomenal. It's never, ever looked this good and sounded obviously this good. But like I said, I'm like, I can't imagine the Blu-ray was that bad. But my memory of this was, probably 480p, and it's like on a 32-inch television. And now I'm seeing this in like, crystal clear display at 110 inch. And you're like, oh, it was awesome. Awesome. So if you're a fan of the movie, grab it. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I picked it up yesterday. I've got it here. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet. I'm going to watch Reservoir Dogs tomorrow, and then hopefully this straight after, hopefully.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. I'm glad it's good, because I was a bit worried, because there was a review I read online that was saying it wasn't actually that big a difference to the Blu-ray. So I was a bit worried. But since reading that, Ralph's review, Bill Hunt's review, and now you all saying, no, this is a significant upgrade. Yeah. So that's really reassuring. So
yeah, see, but that's the thing, is I wasn't 100% sure that it was just like, I can't say I watched this movie just like a month or so ago on Blu-ray. So I'm going off of, like, I didn't do an A/B to the Blu-ray or anything like that, but I just know that when you watch this now, it is so crisp, but yet it doesn't look like overly done. It just looks perfect for Pulp Fiction too. For like the opening scene, like, I love you, honey bunny, that whole scene, the soundtrack and that part, I am now listening for, because you have Sam Jackson and Travolta somewhere else in that diner. And I swear, I want to go back and listen to it now, but I swear you can hear them somewhere in your room. There's something, because they're getting ready to do that. You got, Honey Bunny and Pumpkin, they're getting ready to do their thing. And then you have Vincent and what's Sam Jackson's name in the movie? I forget. I just watched it too. But anyways.
Marcus. No, I'm not sure. I can't remember. It's been a while.
Vincent, my man in Amsterdam, and I forget. But anyways, they're over there and they're having a conversation. So I could hear, I just so far after first viewing, I could hear like a deep voice going over there. I just don't know like if that's what it is. And I want to go back through and listen to it again. But the diner scene, you can hear people talking around the room. You hear plates clanking on the left or something like that. It's really good. So much fun. And it is such a great movie anyways. So, but enhanced now by the home theater experience.
There we go.
All right.
Okay.
What do you got?
So, okay, well, let's do the next new one, and then we'll have a couple that we talked about before, so we could do those fairly quickly. So the next one that I've seen that is only available over here, as far as I know, is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in 4K and DTS 5.1 up next to Neural X. So this is an Arrow release, which came out last Monday, just gone, the one before. And it's the director's cut and the theatrical on a big special edition. So the film, I think you and I talked about this when I was in Spain.
Yeah,
that's how long ago that it was announced, and I know you said you hadn't seen it for a long time, and I hadn't seen it for a long time either. But I've seen it lots, and I know it well. And the film still holds up. It's still every bit as okay. They do walk from the cliffs of Dover in the south of England to Nottingham in a day, which is you couldn't do it in a car, let alone walk it. And all right, you've got American accents, and you've got modern language and all kinds of stuff. But all that aside, that's sort of the thing. But nevertheless, the film is as great as ever. Alan Rickman is just fantastic in this. And as much as I say that Die Hard is one of my favorite films, I think his performance in this just pips Hans Gruber because of how just OTT it is. It's fantastic. And the director's cut is particularly good. So that's very good. So that's great. Now, 4K wise, the image quality is very, very nice indeed. Really, really good quality. Absolutely looks great. The HDR gives it some depth that it didn't have before. All the grain is very natural. It's grainy, but then you'd expect it to be because it's shot on film. But the detail levels are great. I saw loads of stuff I hadn't seen before. Scars on Robin Hood's back and on Kevin Costner's character. Even burns on Alan Rickman's chest. He's got burns there, which are never mentioned, but they're there, and I've never seen those before, and I've seen this film so many times. So the details are better. The sound is good, although it's upmixed, and is nice as well. And during the action scenes towards the end, there is some rumbles in the bass. We actually get some decent rumbles, which hitherto had been quite quiet. So yeah, it's great and well worth getting. And a number of people on Twitter, I think from the US, are importing it because there's no sign of a release over there. Any sign on Kaleidescape?
I don't think so. If it's an Arrow film, I don't think so. I was going to look. We don't have it over here in 4K. And we have the extended, obviously, in Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But let me look. Robin Hood. Prince Doom. Nope. Just Prince HD. Extended version, but it's in HD. Same thing.
Oh, okay.
Same on Kaleidescape. Yep. That's usually the way they go. Especially with those, like with an Arrow film or any of those. Yeah. So.
But it's well worth getting, and it will not be cheap to import it because it's not cheap anyway. But but if you like the film, it is great, and it's a really cool film.
Why don't you lead us right into Arkane, and because I've only seen the first two, you've seen the others. So what do you got?
Yeah, so I've only seen 1 to 8. There's another episode at the end to see.
Okay, there's 9.
There are 9. Now, this is something that John mentioned last week, and I'd never even heard of it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about it.
Well, Rob mentioned it in the Thanksgiving podcast, and then we started talking about it. That's what brought it up. He loved the story, but then listeners from the Thanksgiving podcast said it's a great home theater experience. Rob hadn't mentioned that, so that's what got me interested. And then when I brought it up in the podcast, John's like, yeah, it's fantastic. He had seen it months ago. So it was all that, like, the ball started rolling. Rob got the ball rolling and we took it from there. So yeah, I'm only 2 episodes in, but yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I got slightly sideswiped by it because I started watching it in my lounge, which is just on a 46-inch TV, 2-channel stereo, nothing special at all. But I had assumed, again, I'll do this so you can't see the ears. I had assumed that it was 4K and that it was Atmos. So, so I started watching it in the lounge and was like, was really enjoying it. It's kind of like, very easy to just binge watch the whole thing. And I watched sort of 3 or 4 episodes back to back. And then I thought, I'm going to go into the cinema room and watch it in there. And I went in there and was kind of wondering why I couldn't find a 4K version. And I thought, Netflix is having problems. So I typed in 4K and yet all the 4K stuff came up, but it didn't come up with this. So I was then thinking, well, something's wrong here. And then eventually I realized actually it is just 5.1 and it's just 1080p. But it does look amazing and it does sound amazing. It's like the Into the Spider-Verse style animation, isn't it? But but pushed ever so slightly further down the road. I think it's more sophisticated than Into the Spider-Verse. You can tell it's been made since that, but it's beautiful to look at. And,
it's different art. I think Into the Spider-Verse is more comic book art. This has got a more of a, not really a manga feel, but more of something like that. And it's I think that it's a much different hues, different shading, different lighting. Into the Spider-Verse is very vibrant, like a comic book. The red, it's very bright and lot more contrast going on, where it's like Arkane is more gritty, right? And it's like but play almost like the difference between No Way Home and the Batman, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we got here between these two. And it's like, but you wouldn't, because it's animated too, I think you wouldn't know. You'd think this was 4K with HDR, the way the colors that you're seeing, the way the contrast and the detail that you're seeing in all of the images. And like you said, in the soundtrack too, and the audio track for this is, like I said, I'm only 2 episodes into it, but it is really, really good.
Yeah, it is. It's something I wish I'd seen a long time ago. But I would like to see a 4K version. Unfortunately, it's a Netflix series, so the chances of seeing that are slim.
No.
Which is a shame. But I'd love to see it with a 4K pass and give it another go. I think it would be really, really good then. But the story's great. I like the way it unfolds, and it just gets more crazy as it goes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, it just gets more and more full on, more and more graphic in its violence and kind of what happens. It's great. And it's got a proper sounding Gatling gun.
There you go.
I don't want you to think I'm getting hung up on Gatling guns. But,
you got one, don't you?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, just under the desk. So it's great, and I'm so glad John brought it up, because I would never have even heard of it. I'd never heard of the League of Legends video game. It didn't mean anything to me. This is one of the beauties of doing this, is that we can swap suggestions of stuff we'd never heard of, like The Grey for you guys, like obviously like Malignant and Dog Soldiers, but we can swap stuff that we just didn't
I get a lot of stuff like Arkane came from the home theater side of it, came from a listener before, and that's what made me mention it to John. So it was like it's everybody saying, oh, check this out. It's like
I must have missed that.
Brew had a bunch this week. It's like there's so many great things out there. You can't watch them all, but it's like whatever grabs you and you're like, oh, let me try that. Like you said, oh, I wish I saw this earlier, but it's still there. We can see it now. Yeah, and we did.
Oh, yeah. That's it. But I put it on because, again, John mentioned it. It came out of nowhere. I hadn't heard any of those other recommendations. So when I put it on for 10 minutes on Sunday afternoon, thinking, well, I'll just give it a go. It might be quite not really me. It might not be for me. And then 4 episodes later, I'm still there thinking, this is absolutely exceptional. I'm absolutely loving this. It was great. Really, really good and well worth, everyone who hasn't seen it, seeing it, because it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's good.
Although I know I'm late to the party on that.
It's okay. Better late than never. And like I said, it's still there. It's recorded. You just saw Christmas Vacation. That's late to the party. And that's literally a party.
I've only just seen Lawrence of Arabia.
True. Oh, John was with that one, but that one came out way before your time. Yeah, Christmas Vacation was kind of your time.
It was in my heyday. Yes, it would. That would be fair. Yeah.
So, all right. And that was. I have no more. So the last one I can also comment on.
Something you guys have seen. Yeah, this is something you guys you talked about last time. So I've just catching up with it now, which is Echo 3. And I'm now 3 episodes in. Another thing I had never heard of until you guys mentioned it last week, and it sounded interesting. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go. It might be good, might not be. And I watched episode 1 last night, and then I watched episode 2 and 3 today. And yeah, it's really good. Really enjoying it. Again, you talked about the quality of the audio and the video, and I 100% agree with that.
Yeah,
it's Apple TV Plus. It's gonna be good because that's just what they do. And there's no issues with that at all. I mean, all the jungle stuff, all the helicopter things that you guys mentioned, all the gunfire. Again, sorry to keep going back to guns, but the gunfire in episode 3 with when what happens, spoiler free. Then it sounds like these weapons are powerful enough. I think it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. I think probably it would be frustrating if you were a military man or a military person, because I'm not sure their tactics are terribly clever. And I think I might have some issues if I was a member of the Delta Force, and you can grab someone, stand in the road, and shout, "I've got her," and then wonder why it is you've just been shot. So things like that was a little bit thinking, well, they're not either they're not really HRT hostage rescue people,
right,
or they're just very bad at it. Because they do some things in this that are just bizarre. That's funny. But it's a fun story, and it is enjoyable, and I'm enjoying kind of how it's unfolding, and I'm certainly going to carry on with it. So I recommend that one as well. And again, thanks to you guys for recommending it, because it is really good.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah, it's great.
That was one of the ones I did a lot of TV watching in the hotel room, so I didn't want to put that on. It's like I put on Tulsa King. I watched that in the hotel room.
Stallone.
Stallone. I'm really loving that, but you don't need that in a home theater. It looks good, but it's not anything no sound or anything. But, Echo 3 you got to see that in the theater. I think anything Apple TV, really. So I kind of saved that for when I get home, and I'll catch up on that. And I love that it drops once a week, because it gives you that something every week to do, So.
Yeah, there's 10 episodes. I've got 2 more to watch that have been released, and there'll be another one Friday. I'm not quite sure how they're going to spin this out for 10 episodes, but there's only so many times they can fail in trying to rescue her. I'm hoping
if they're going to have I was going to ask you that, if they're going to have multiple seasons of this, because how often do they ever put anything out just saying we're just doing one? But
Apple TV did quite a few of those, mine. They do that with Defending Jacob, and they did that with what's the Blackbird that we just recently watched? They're actually they're a mini series, and I suspect that's what this is. I don't know, but I
10 episodes. But that's why I'm saying, like, 10 episodes gives you a chance to maybe solve this one, and then they go into something else, and then now you find out that they're a team. And then like the series is about the exploits of the team. Not like right now we're thinking it's this one particular mission. You see what I'm saying? I'm wondering if that's how it's, because like we said that about Andor, right? There were like 3 to 4 different stories all the way through. You got your 3-episode story arc, and then you're on to the next one. So I'm wondering if they might do the same thing here. But for us, like I said, in the theater, I'm all down for that. Because this stuff, it's so fun, and it's a good story. It's a fun story, like you said. Maybe leave your brain at the door a little bit. I'm the same way. Like I said, I'm only 1 episode in, and I have the same thoughts as you on that part of the story. But yeah, the gunfire, the bangs, the booms, it's a lot of fun, and it looks good too. And that's Apple TV though, so.
What it is, we've just come to expect it from them. They just don't put out stuff that's rubbish. They just don't do that. They throw a lot of money at this stuff, and they expect quality in return, and it's become their trademark. And as you guys said last week, and I've listened back to last week again, and I think I might have missed it the first time around. Is that it's just it's an assumption. They don't put out rubbish. They don't do that. They know it's going to be something that you're going to want to see this way, and I think it's great, and it stands them apart. And I suppose if you're going to launch a streaming service and take on people like Netflix and Disney, one of the ways you could do that is by putting out something that looks and sounds like this stuff.
Right. Exactly.
It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's funny you say that. A couple of weeks ago, I was editing the podcast, and same thing, because I'm running the stuff here. I think it was right after something happened and I wasn't listening and you were still talking, and I had to go back and listen to you editing. And when I'm editing, I'm like, he talked about that. It was, what was the series you did? You said you were going through that one actor. What was that series of movies?
The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, mini Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah,
series,
exactly.
season.
Oh, and it was Jungle Cruise.
The Jungle Cruise, yeah.
Jungle Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talked about Jungle Cruise, and I came back, and it's like I solved whatever issue I had. So I'm doing this, and I'm looking around, and I'm not, and I come back, and I just, if you notice, go back and watch that one, and you'll see me, and I'm like, I had no idea what you were talking about. I had no idea. I didn't know what movie you were talking about. Otherwise, I loved that movie. I would have been all over that. Podcast probably would have been another 15 minutes long. But I had no idea. And then when I was editing the podcast, because I have to go in, like I put in the real noise sound is here so that I know where they are. But sometimes I miss. So I have to go through, and if I forget to hit it when you say the new movie, I want to mark that. That's how I get my timestamp. So I have to put it in. All of a sudden, you're talking Jungle Cruise. I was like, I don't remember Jungle. Oh, I better listen to this. That was for the first time. I was like, but it's funny you say that. Like even you, John says the same thing. He goes, I listen back and there's, John says, and I do the same thing. I said, what? Like, I don't really remember saying that. So.
Yeah. Well, because you're in the moment, this is the thing about it. And it's a good thing because it means you're concentrating on that one thing rather than other stuff. But my issue with it, and I think I mentioned this to you before, is where you kind of, you're so interested, so enthusiastic about it, and there's so much to say, you then go from one to another, to another, to another, and you're not then taking that time to then break it down. And I do that a lot. Yeah. And so especially about stuff, and you get excited. And with movies, I do. Yeah. And so then it happens, and then you do forget bits and you miss stuff, and you kind of realize that you did miss things that were said, and little asides that you guys say as well. I miss those sometimes, and so it's like, oh, so when you hear it back, it's like, oh yeah, okay, all right, I get that. Funny. That was good.
Yeah. Good stuff. All fun stuff. All right, is that it for this week?
Yeah.
Imagine if John was
very
here.
well, did you? Well, yeah, because we didn't get to the gray, so that one's going to be a lengthy discussion.
That's going to be a lengthy discussion. We didn't get to the gray. Yeah. We're coming up on almost 3 hours for this podcast, just for the podcast.
And you did 3 hours plus last night. Yep. So you're, again,
I'm recording again tomorrow. And then I'm recording on Thursday. So I don't know when tomorrow is
going. This stuff.
Huh?
It's a good job you like this stuff.
I know. That's why I like doing it. I'm like, I booked the week, and this is a great week. I talked to Travis last night. We're doing our show tonight. Tomorrow, I have Brent Butterworth chatting with him. Oh. I cannot wait. And then, Thursday night, the big night. So I can't wait. I'm like, what a week. And it's like, and it was so funny that Thursday night came up, and I was just like, when Travis texted me, he's like, do you want to do this? And this was a couple of weeks ago. I knew about this last week, but I didn't want to jinx anything. I didn't say anything to you guys or anybody. I was like, I don't know. I'm like, Travis just reached out to me out of the blue. And I was like, he goes, do you want to sit down with Patrick Reed Johnson? He goes, we're going to have him in. It's from this movie. He goes, buy this movie. And he sent me the link. And I'm like, oh, and like we said last night, I'm like, I'd heard of the movie before in the making and stuff, just in the Star Wars chatter and stuff. You'd hear stuff about it. But I hadn't seen it or really knew much about it. But then he's like, I've got the director and writer, and he wants to sit down, we're going to sit down with them. And I'm like, I'm in. And he's like, when can you record? I go, whenever. I'm like, the only time was Tuesdays. I had to say no. But other than that, I'm like, wide. I'm like, I don't care if it's, like I said, 3 a.m, whenever you need me, just let's sit down. And we narrowed it down between the 4 of us. It was, we were able to narrow it down to a decent, Thursday at 8:00. So Thursday night, we'll be streaming that at 8:00. That'll be late for you, but,
2 a.m. for me.
Yeah. So, but yeah, really looking forward to, sitting down with Patrick and, so, but then, and I've already been looking forward to Brent Butterworth. I've been talking to him all year, trying to get him back on. We were so close over the summer, And then I reached out to him because of the Thanksgiving podcast. He was traveling, but he wanted to do it. It was super short notice too. But he was like, he goes, but let's set something up. So I'm like, all right. So we booked this one then, before Thanksgiving. I was like, let's do this. And we got some fun stuff planned. I'm really excited to talk to him again. So it's going to be a great week. And I got some stuff planned for next week too. So I'm having fun. We're having fun. It's all home theater all the time, but we might be expanding. Tune into Brent Butterworth interview.
Oh, my goodness me.
So big fun.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. I can't wait.
Okay. Good, man. Nice one. Well, I'll look forward to tuning in for that, but may have to be the podcast rather than the green room.
Yeah.
Especially at 2 a.m.
I'm going to try to get it out as soon as possible so it doesn't conflict with anything else, but I should be able to get that out pretty quick. I'm hoping to get that out for Thursday, but I can't make any promises. But be on the lookout for that, listeners. Brent Butterworth. Oh, always a good time. So, all right, let's get out of here, Steve. It's been a long time. I think we've given them enough. I think we've ticked up everybody's minutes on their podcasting stuff. So we got another 3 hours to them. So that's 6 hours of Brightside Home Theater this week. I think that's enough for everybody. So
for the time being.
Yeah. Have a great week, everybody. I'll be playing everywhere, including your toaster. So, Steve and I will be back. Hopefully John is feeling better, and he'll be back with us next week. Lots of stuff in store as always, but until then, go push play. Hey, Fred.
This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.